the development of full artificial intelligence would spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lightning in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D-Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, well, it's time to get weird again, right? Shall we? Shall we get weird? Any objections if we decide to get weird? Because, of course, that is what we do. And the whole reason, by the way, is because looking at life in the same static, ridiculous ways that we've been told forever is fine. It's fun. It's, interesting. No. There are rules to the universe. There are rules to the cosmos. And to suggest that people have them all figured out is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Especially with all the mysteries that we don't even know we don't know yet. And suddenly, when you look out into the vast cosmos or the void itself, suddenly the mysteries of the universe become daunting, become too large to quantify, too large to count. And that's exactly the point tonight. We're going to kind of look into the void and the primordial beginning, and even into something known as negative light. Now, this is a term that's it's a theoretical physics term, of course, and it's been something that's been kicked around quite a lot in quantum physics. All right. Now, the bizarre part is that I've heard of this before. We've talked about it very briefly in the past in different ways because it was a theoretical concept. But apparently, they found this actual thing. I mean, I found this. Now, I don't know if this article is legit. Okay, so we'll all the disclaimers do apply. I didn't have a chance to go through and fact check all this, so we'll talk about it in the context. The context of philosophy here. Okay, about the void, measuring it, darkness, this type of stuff. So again, all the disclaimers do apply. There's no truth to be found here, just ideas, just philosophy, just a philosophical construct, as I like to say. Now, this is from Diario, the diary24.com. Yeah, I'll link it in the chat. But the headline is this, and this is from July 3rd. It's July 3rd. Hey, happy pre-Independence Day for the folks out there that celebrate the 1776 dogma cycles. Anyway, I digress. And I don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm just making jokes about the things people believe. Anyway, the headline is this. It's darker than darkness. Negative light phenomena observed for first time. Now, like I said, in the past, this was a theoretical thing. This was something that we could talk about and go, yeah, shadow people or the shadow biome or, things like that we've talked about in the past. But now suddenly, let me read a little bit from this article. This is pretty wild. New physics is revealed as scientists have seen something happen that appears to contravene our understanding of light. I don't think that word means what they think it means. Anyway, scientists managed to pick up on what's called negative light, an anomaly so far-fetched it's described as darker than darkness. What does it mean to possess negative energy photons, and how will discovery redefine the fabric of our reality in the universe? And let me turn this into reader mode so you guys can see what the hell I'm reading. There we go, much better. So there we go. Let's see. Hold on, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so light we are familiar with consists of photons. We talk about this often, particles that always have positive energy and move at light speed. However, recent theoretical and experimental developments were expected to have, in certain circumstances, photons acting as negative energy or negative frequency. And that's, again, the theoretical stuff. This goes back to about 2012 or so-ish, where I found the first mention of this, kind of just doing some digging a little bit. But anyway, in a post on Physics Stack Exchange, which, again, I tried to verify I could not. So, again, take this with a grain of salt. We'll talk conceptually here. But, quote, the notion of negative energy photons is not a standard quantum electrodynamics, but the solutions of negative frequency do occur in the mathematics. Sweet, right? It is not photons themselves carrying negative energy in the classical manner. Instead, negative energy photons are more of a conceptual tool describing particular quantum states or processes, mainly on upper optics and quantum field theory levels. They can accomplish the trick of making the seeming of light being withdrawn from an environment rather than added. Now, I'm going to read that again because this is written kind of poorly, but so they can accomplish the trick of making the seeming of light being withdrawn from an environment rather than added, meaning that in the presence of these negative photons, they actually take light away, physically remove light. Now, when you look at that and look at it in the larger context of, let's say, the cosmos or the void, or, pick some place between here and Alpha Centauri or whatever, where there's supposedly nothing. It's just the quantum foam, right? It's just whatever's out there, the actual vacuum. Well, in the presence of these actual negative photons, then that would mean there are patches in space or even in space-time. And how does this sort of map quantum gravity and that sort of stuff? I think it gets mind-boggling when you think about it in those terms. But how does this actually change the idea of darkness? And is it possible to be darker than dark? Meaning in the absence of light itself, when negative photons arrive, there are new levels of darkness that seem to arrive, okay? Now, that's the wild part of this. And as you know, we've talked about this quite a lot in a lot of different ways over the years, not just mythology, folklore, all the rest. But in the beginning, there was light, says the word, okay? And not only that, what level of light? Suddenly you get these fractal ideas, or let's say measurements of what darkness really means. And that's where my mind is at tonight. What the hell does that mean? How weird does this get? And do you think this is, well, not just a clickbait article? Really, that becomes the question. So I did do a little digging, and there's some actual things that back this up. Not negative refraction. Dark neurons. There's some stuff here. There's some other articles here. I'll drop them as we go. But there is some stuff here that seems to corroborate the information as being maybe a new actual. Speaking of which, this particular YouTube video, I'll drop this in the thing. It's a quick 5-minute video, and don't stop and watch right now, of course. But do check this out when you get some time, because it explains pretty much exactly what we're talking about in a much better way than I could. And I almost cut up the audio because that's only 5 minutes long, this video, 4 minutes, 28 seconds, and just played the audio, except I ran out of time. Wouldn't you know, right? Get home from work, you run out of time. That's just the way it goes, right? But anyway, so they're dropping it in the chat so everybody can take a look at it. And it is pretty neat and interesting. And yes, this YouTube channel broke it down very well. Shout out Reno, R-E-I-N-O, Reno. And yeah, this is from a month ago. Quantum Leap, Quantum Physics, Technology Innovation, and it's talking about, of course, negative light, as we are also discussing negative light. But anyway, so the question as we begin is, what the hell does this mean? Do you think there is the possibility of a shade of darkness that goes beyond the absence of light itself? That's the question. And how weird does it get? How does this fit into old tales of in the beginning, God said, let there be light, that idea? But also, what about the void? What about the primordial void? Is that awash in the idea of these negative, actual negative light or negative photons? Becomes the question. I don't know. I don't know. And as usual, no truth, as I always say. There's no truth to be found here. It's philosophy and folklore and mythology and all the rest. But what do you know about it? And what is it? What kind of thing does it ring a bell in your mind regarding? And that's where we start. That's what's on my mind tonight. I hope you guys are doing well. Let's get a word from our sponsor. In this case, it is Human Inspiration. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds coming up in exactly 1 minute. Be right back. More on the way.
In a world increasingly shaped by AI, Human Inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable.
So here I sit, locked in my room again.
Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty of Alien Skin by Tremble and support Human Inspiration. Available now on iTunes.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so measuring the void. Now, that becomes the weird part of this. So as of right now, theoretically, we're talking about scientists observing darkness darker than the absence of light. We're talking about the void. We're talking about Cthulhu. We're talking about Lovecraft. And this also idea of shades darker than that, which again seems incredible to even conceive of. But so let's see, negative light, we did that. Quantum interference experiments. So there's a actual part of this that explains sort of the experiment on how they did it. Let's see. In an unprecedented experiment covered by ARS Technica, researchers managed to generate and detect negative frequency photons using advanced optical equipment. Manipulating the phase and frequency of light waves, they created interference patterns where the phenomenon of having negative properties of light was the only reason behind it. It's never been seen before, neither from experimental physics nor from theoretical physics. And so maybe we're onto something here that I've never heard of. I don't know. That's possible, right? I mean, and I've heard of all manner of wild and weird things, but this one kind of takes the taco when you think of the implications here. If there's a negative photon, we can actually find this and observe this somewhere. It opens new questions about the quantum foam, as I mentioned. It brings about new questions regarding something like dark energy and dark matter. And so, that mass, undetectable mass out there, or detectable mass that's non-visible. So it does make me wonder, and opening up the shadow biome and some of these other weird things we've talked about in the past. Shadow people, of course, come to mind. That type of thing. The fleeting, darkness you see out of the corner of your eye that kind of catches your attention, and then when you look, it's not there. I mean, there's a lot of implications here that make me scratch my chin and wonder what the hell's going on with it. So let's see. And of course, the obvious question as we start is, how can nothing go below nothing? Mathematically, of course, we have negative numbers. However, in the real world, it doesn't work like that, does it? You can't have a nothing or less than nothing, can you? I mean, you can have nothing, but less than nothing? I don't know. Anyway, so have you, and here's the question as we begin, another question to layer as we go. Have you ever experienced darkness that felt different, more intense than regular darkness? And I have, and I'll explain my story. This goes back probably, how many years? It's 28 years. Man, I'm getting old. 30 years, maybe, something like that. Anyway, so that's where we start. And have you ever experienced something like this? And what does it mean? The implications of a negative light and scales of darkness as yet unfathomable by the human mind. And honestly, how dark can it get? Love to hear your thoughts. Of course, we are taking your calls at 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Speaking of which, let's go to James. James jumped in here, excited for the topic. Thanks for being excited about it. And thanks for showing up. What's going on, my man? It's James Salcido. You're on Troubled Minds. All yours, my man.
I'm just glad to be here. Yeah, just because of the wealth of experiences I've heard about and read about, and a couple that I've had, uh, this topic to me is amazing. As yet another example of possibly scientists sort of possibly figuring out or maybe approaching things that we think of as being paranormal as unexplained that maybe will be explained someday. So I'm always fascinated by that kind of connection between those realms that are said to be so separate, but I think maybe they're not quite so separate after all.
Yeah, it does bring to mind those experimental spaces or ideas we always talk about, maybe the astral realm or out of body experiences, sort of that shadow people space where maybe this negative version of ourselves resides. Who really knows? When you start to look at this and go darker than the absence of light itself, it does make you wonder, again, what that scale becomes, because, you go deeper and deeper and deeper until there is the void. There's sort of that Cthulhu-esque primordial void that how the hell would you measure that? That's like black hole type stuff. I mean, this just gets weirder and weirder the more you think about it.
It does. It makes me think of how so often in places that are said to be paranormal hotspots or just active places of energy, or even in a way cursed places or places where you shouldn't go, where it's said to be extraordinarily dark there. So often that is thought of as meaning it's evil, it's bad. But I wonder if that's always the case, or if it could be that people are just picking up on something that is so different that we label it as being bad because it's so different, because we don't know what it is.
Yeah, which is very, very Lovecraftian. Very, the indifferent void is not necessarily evil, just so indifferent and so cosmic that it's chilling. It, brings about that cosmic horror idea. And I think you're right that, as usual, it sort of makes us wonder about, what evil is, and that idea where we sort of try and pour everything into binary buckets of human definitions. And in that particular case, it does kind of strike at the heart of, well, what if this particular thing is just another wild group of things that we've missed forever? Our intuition has told us exists in some capacity. I mean, I think you can look at the shamanic journey. You can look at sort of UFO tales where they talk about sort of a cloaked in darkness, or these, dark triangles or things like this. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that fit into this, modern and ancient. So it does make me wonder. And not only that, what about remote viewing? What about those things? Again, if you believe those are real, that's cool. If you don't, that's cool too. Like I said, conceptual frameworks here of thought. And by the way, which is a handy way to look at this, if you're like, come on, Mike, that's ridiculous. As usual, think about it in terms of simulation theory. Okay, if we live in a simulation, then these things are just easily programmable manifestations of our reality. And so just because they're not quantifiable easily as yet, it doesn't mean they don't exist. So just kind of look at it in that framework, and it's a fantastic way. Shout out to David from Magic and the Noise. He pointed that out when he was on the show, that it's a great way to look at a lot of these ideas, because it removes the sort of ego space from it, and you think in terms of the system itself instead. But yeah, what else you got, James? Fire stuff, take it anywhere you like, as you know.
Yeah, or I wonder if those places are as yet unprogrammed or unfinished places, going with the simulation idea. Places where maybe either things have broken down in some way or changed, or they haven't been, or they're being changed, and maybe there's some kind of way to keep people from approaching those spaces where things are being rewritten or rearranged or whatever on a cosmic level, to where it's sort of like an inverted version of like a force field to keep people away from certain places that maybe it's not, again, it's not so much a negative thing. It's just you shouldn't be in that space right now, from whoever is running everything. Basically an out of order space within the whole simulation.
Yeah, all that. I mean, as usual, looking at some of this stuff in different ways makes you scratch your chin and go, huh? Especially, think of it this way, too, with shout out Bailey was telling us about a remote viewing experience that she had. And it was specifically something like that, where there was a darkness that she could not penetrate with her mind's eye type of thing. And so I wonder if there is... You can coalesce this, you can create this, you can capture this idea of negative light or a negative photon and use it as maybe a cloaking mechanism, something like a UFO might use in a metamaterial type sense. There's just so many ways to kind of really stare at this in the face and go, okay, well, maybe. I mean, maybe. And also, this is one of my favorite quotes from J.R.R. Tolkien. It's from The Hobbit. And I don't know if it's actually in the book itself. It's been forever since I read that book. However, it is in the 1977 Rankin Bass Hobbit cartoon, if you guys have ever seen that. But in Mirkwood Forest, Bilbo Baggins climbs up to the top of the trees to get a look because they're lost inside this dark forest. And he was describing Mirkwood Forest, again, corrupted by the evil magic of Sauron and the guise of the necromancer. And then, of course, the spiders, the giant spiders had returned to Mirkwood Forest. But he described it as a patch of midnight that had never been cleared away. Because, of course, what else would Tolkien call darker than darkness? Such a poetic way to say it. What else you got, James? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, too, when it comes to darkness and anomalous fields of it or spaces of it, and I've mentioned this before on the show because I found accounts of it where people have seen patches or even what look like orbs or even just blobs of darkness moving through areas closer to the ground. We're not even necessarily talking UFO related here, that don't seem to be paying attention to anyone around them. They're just moving. And I wonder, is that a cloaking of some kind, or could this energy or could this anti-light or negative light be also host to some kind of sentience? If you think about plasma and all that, I wonder if there could be sentience within that negative light.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. I wonder, because of course, we're talking about sort of a shadow realm or biome or those types of things where maybe there are negative versions of ourselves. We live in the light. And there's this old, it's called Tales from the Dark Side, this old series from like the late 80s, I believe. And it's on Comet on Saturday mornings. I've been watching it, and it's super weird. And it didn't even come to mind until you just said that, James. But it is called, I think, Tales from the Dark Side. And it talks about, in the intro, a very specific version of this where in the darkness, there may be layers or something to that effect. I'll see if I can pull up the exact sort of the blurb, the intro blurb, but it's very similar to what we're talking about here. Wild stuff. As you know, got about a minute left. If you got anything else, then you're welcome to sit as usual. Thanks for popping in early. You're the best.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to sit in on this one. I just so I've seen shadow figures or parts of shadow figures a couple of times. And there's just so much reports of that throughout time, throughout mythology, up to now. And there's this idea as well that sometimes shadow figures, we have no idea what they are, and I think there can be different things. But sometimes they are just people in other dimensions that are living out their lives. And there's this question that I've heard of, and I think it's a great one. Are we shadow figures to some other people somewhere else?
Yeah, so the scales of light. I wonder, and is there sort of a, let's say in a fractal way, a luminescent space that goes beyond visible light, the visible light spectrum, that really kind of transcends into another realm? Because that's kind of what we're talking about with these negative photons. Maybe it's similar, and maybe it is more fractal than we think, and maybe layered and stacked and all the rest of that stuff, and larger than we might ever dream. As usual, just ideas, just theories, just kind of throwing some of these things out. But the question for you guys, of course, is have you ever seen something that seems darker than darkness itself? Have you ever experienced a moment like that? Like I said, remind me to tell my story. I have a story about this, like I said, from about 30 years ago. I was a young man, and something freaked me out. And it was either a person in the house or it was something like this, like a darker than darkness situation. It's creepy as hell. Remind me to tell the tale, I will. But I'd rather talk to you guys. As usual, you're welcome to jump in here, and I'd love to hear your theories on this and what's going on. Hope you're doing well tonight. Just give us a call, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We're talking about measuring the void tonight. The mystery of negative light or negative photons. How real does this seem, and how weird does it get? One more time, 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. More on the way.
In the shadows we dwell, where the silence screams loud. Embrace the nightfall, let it swallow us whole. As we dance with our fears, lost in dark romance. Darker than darkness, we rise from below. Darker than darkness, in the depths we glow. Echoes of laughter through the midnight air, searching for solace, but it's never quite there. As we chase the blue light, fleeting moments escape. Darker than darkness, we rise from below. Darker than darkness, in the depths we glow. In the night we reign, wearing shadows like crowns. Feel the beat in our veins, we'll never back down. Darker than darkness, we rise from below. Darker than darkness, in the depths we glow. In a world painted black, we find our own way. Neon lights flicker, guiding us to stay. Darker than darkness, we rise from below. Darker than darkness.
I didn't listen to the end of it, so I don't know if it ends properly. What's up, Matt's all JJ? What's up, Soars? Coming up next, we got Daryl Sweets. Then we got the Robert after that. Herschel Dawn, Apot Gaston Sweets, Mephisto. I see you, Ricky. Yeah, somebody jumped in here right when I was doing that. It changed. Yeah, the song is fun. I agree. Over to Rumble. We always leave them out, so let's get Rumble in first. We got Hikers here. What's up, James? We got Margie. How you doing, Margie O? Good evening. Gordo's here. What's happening, folks? Puff, Hiker. Good evening. Hope you guys are well tonight. Just doing Trouble Mind stuff as we do. Gordo, Puff. Let's see. YY's here. Good evening. Hello. If I missed anybody, just say hi. Ephemerance. Hello. Good evening. Hope you're well tonight. Hope everybody's well tonight. Just yeah. Hello. Good evening. Over to YouTube real quick. Let's start from the bottom. The latest here. We'll go Ioxy. What's up, Shane? Jen, RC, how you doing? Good evening, Mr. Mission Control. All right, here we go. Trouble Minds coming up. OG Skywatch, I see there. All right, I'll come circle back and say hi as we go. Here we go. Trouble Minds, meow. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, scientists have observed negative light, darkness darker than the absence of light itself. If shadows can sink below zero, actively devouring photons rather than merely blocking them, what else have we misunderstood about reality? And I think this is one of those, as Sora said in the chat, we'll talk to Sora in a minute here, so Sora can fill in some of the gaps on that. But Sora said in the chat, this is a game changer in terms of conceptual thinking, in terms of physics itself, and some of these other things that we take for granted as being, the basis of consensus reality. And don't get me wrong, of course it is, empirical stuff, and you got to prove the scientific method and all. I'm not an anti-science guy. I never will be. But I think, as usual, like I always say, we don't know what we don't know about these things. And then when we discover something new, it's like, wow, this opens up a whole bunch of other questions that we never considered because we didn't realize this was a thing. And that's that. That's where my mind is at with this, because I love thinking about these ideas and wondering about, the mystery of the negative photon or negative light. What do you know about it? So let's go to Sora in just a second. Anything else, James, to add? And then we'll go to Sora on the Discord.
Not too much. I mean, I have experiences I can share later if there's time, but also don't forget your story about your possible experience as well. Okay, will do later on when it settles down with the callers. So chat, hold me accountable on that. I'll tell the tale. I don't want to make people wait here. But I have told it before a couple, 3 times on the show, but I mean, over 7 years, that gets washed out and all this stuff. But I have told the actual, the experience before. And I'm telling you, it was a creepy moment. For sure, 100%. What do you know about it? We're talking the mystery of negative light tonight, the measuring the void, and of course, the negative photon. Seem real? Seem clickbaity? Seem something like science fiction? Or none of the above? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Just like this. Thanks for being patient, my man. Let's go to Sora on X. What is going on? And also on the Discord, you're on Troubled Minds. How are you? And go right ahead.
Yo, heyo. I'm pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Thanks for asking. You sound fantastic. Discord is nice and piping hot tonight, and everybody's sounding great. Go right ahead. What is your...
Yeah, things sure are hopping around here.
Yeah, well, we have a knack with so many smart friends, including you. So take it wherever you like. There's a lot of ways to look at this. What do you know about negative photons or the idea of negative light?
Well, dude, to start with, I have a lot of questions, but it brings to mind studies about the theoretical tachyon, a theoretical particle that moves in reverse time rather than forward through time. They talk about a lot in Star Trek, and though it's theoretical, it fits the math. We just haven't been able to observe it. And it really makes me think of like all the other things we haven't been able to observe. I mean, we kind of know dark energy is there. We don't know what it is. We call it dark energy, but we just can't see it. But we know it's there. It reminds me of dark matter, which can only be observed by its gravitational status. This whole dark negative light particle is it's kind of out there. It's kind of like next level, and being able to observe it is one thing, but being able to produce it would be a completely different thing. I mean, if it has the properties of light, then imagine being able to click on a flashlight and totally darken everything in the path of its beam. That's kind of what they seem to be hinting at here. I haven't read all of the research on it so far yet. I just started, but it looks like we're going in that direction.
Yeah, which is wild again. And so imagine that. It's sort of like if you can go darker than the absence of light itself, as you're describing, it becomes really the ultimate cloaking mechanism. Like if you could emit this around you, then you would fade into some level of camouflage, right? And so that becomes the weird part of this. If you can create, again, if there's like 10 ifs here, because of course this is just conceptual thinking.
We're way in if territory.
Like I like to call it, drinking the maybe juice. That's the whole point of these conversations.
Yeah.
But if and then all the maybe juice in the world, you could create this stuff, then certainly this would be the ultimate cloaking device, because it would almost phase you out of our existence, because it would take you to levels of darkness that do not resonate or register in our reality, right? Something like that.
Well, dude, even more than that, like, what about the stuff that it does respond to? Like, I myself have never seen, like, these dark creatures, like the dark people. I don't know what the term is, but I've heard a lot of stuff about them, and there are a lot of, like, there are not a lot of contrasting points. They seem to share a lot of features. Now imagine turning on this negative light flashlight and then suddenly being able to, how would I want to say it, negatively illuminate one of these creatures. What would you see?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Or since we have the glow in the dark level technology, what about the opposite of that? Sort of, let's see.
Yeah, like negative black light.
Yeah, exactly. Negative black light that would bring them out from sort of this level of darkness as yet unquantifiable. I don't know. It's obviously a weird idea, but it does fit into a lot of things we talk about. You know, we talk about the primordial void. We talk about conceptually, you know, Cthulhu and, you know, the Lovecraft stuff. And beyond that, you know, in the beginning, there was nothing. There was, and God said, "Let there be light." So, I mean, there's a whole lot of things here that kind of fit into the larger context of also mythology, folklore, and modern faith, which is good. This is good stuff, because I do wonder, our intuition has told us this philosophically for thousands of years. And so now, if this is true, we're kind of finding these new layers of maybe reality. Let me read this real quick before it runs off the chat. It's super short. Thank you to shout out OG Skywatch for finding that Tales from the Dark Side. The intro, it's real short, and it goes like this. Man lives in the sunlit world of what he believes to be reality. But there is, unseen by most, an underworld, a place that is just as real, but not as brightly lit. A dark side. And that's on Comet on Saturday mornings. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
Dark side.
Dark side.
No, you weren't interrupting me at all. What I'm thinking is, like, what is really interesting to me about this, and I've really got to read up on this, because one, I haven't heard much about it before, and now that, you know, they say they've detected one, I've really got to know. Like, it brings to mind that, one, like, we've had this saying forever, saying that there's nothing in the darkness that isn't there in the light. Well, that's not necessarily true, and we've known that for a while. But this could actually be a way to measure it, a quantum for it, rather. And like, when you ask the question, have you ever seen anything darker than dark? I remember once I did tell a story of my near-death, out-of-body, blah, blah, blah experience, and that's about as dark as it got for me, but it was extremely intensely dark. And I remember explaining that, like, there was nothing else like it. And although I felt like alone and felt like my own little bit of warmth, I could sense there was other stuff there. And as so far as I can understand it, I was probably, you know, like floating through space or something like that before I came back. And this brings that to mind too. And it makes me wonder about the depths of darkness, and at what point can you actually touch it? Because light, although, you know, you don't perceive that you touch it, actually has very, very, very physical properties. And even though it does, it's invisible until it actually reflects off of something. You know what I mean? Like, you don't see light traveling through the air, but you do see it as it reflects off of whatever. And so to have darkness have those same qualities, whereas before or up till now we've only known it to be the absence of light, the presence of vacuum only. Is there a metric for darkness that can be emitted? I'm really, really curious.
Yeah, agreed. And as usual, how weird does it get? Would it shock you if this was like sort of a whole new layer of physics that might start to explain things like dark energy and dark matter? Or do you think this is just way too early for that? Go ahead.
Because we've been looking for this kind of stuff forever to explain all of those little holes that quantum physics rather has left for us to answer. And that's another reason why it's so interesting. Like, even if our observations so far are in error, this is obviously something, and that can only help us understand what's what's going on even better until we actually find what we're, not looking for, which is, I guess, is more interesting than what we've been looking for.
Absolutely. Which is what brings me back night after night talking about these wild ideas, because for sure the things we're not looking for are certainly going to be far more interesting when they arrive. It's sort of like seeing a ghost for the first time or whatever. You're like, whoa, like I've heard of this, I've thought of this, but now you see something like that and it changes your life. Wild stuff. What else you got?
It kind of makes your intuition feel more real. A lot more real.
Agreed. Sort of the fractal intuition that we all have, recognizing there's probably way more to cosmos and the reality we always talk about as part of this. But that's exactly the point of getting together and talking about these ideas. We got Robert behind you, unless you got more. Up to you. You tell me.
Oh, no, go ahead. Thanks, everybody.
You were the best. Appreciate the call. That's the Sora on the Discord, or of course on X. Please give Sora a follow. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. It's alphabetical, and you'll see Sora there. Please go give him a follow on X, and go meet our amazing friends. Like I've always said, the strength of this show is us. I'm me, you're you, but together we're us. And recognize what's happened because of that. A lot of ways to look at the world and a lot of different ideas in terms of those reality tunnels. Sora, appreciate the call. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. Bingo. There you go. Dropped it back down. And so, what do you guys know about this? It's a weird one. It's definitely a weird one. I'll get to my tale. Don't Chad, hold me accountable and make sure I tell the story. But I want to get everybody in here because I've been poor, terrible, bad Mike about not getting everybody in a timely manner. So going to tighten it up a little bit and make sure everybody gets in here. What do you know about this? Again, we're talking measuring the void, the mystery of negative light. And if you go to, again, I'll have these links in the description. They're not now currently because ran out of time, but it's darker than darkness. Negative light phenomena observed for first time. And what the hell does that mean? Is there such a thing as darker than darkness? And have you ever seen something similar to this? Because many people have, in terms of experiences, in terms of the idea of shadow people and things of this nature. And as usual, like I said, if you don't believe in that stuff, that's cool. You don't have to. Think simulation theory framework. And suddenly this becomes a lot more fun to consider. Love to hear your thoughts. Anything, James, before we go to the Roberts?
Yeah, I just great call from Sora. I always appreciate hearing from people that are maybe are able to process or handle more of the scientific side of things than I am. Kind of. I'm not. I don't claim to be very science minded. So it always helps to hear that kind of perspective. So I just wondered how many what they'll find going forward, and I love it when things change and get redefined in science, because I think that's the best thing when things change, then we find out more, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Looking forward to finding more amazing things as we're in this quickening of technology and AI systems and all the things we're always talking about. Yeah, I did notice that I think there's a 1, 2, and 3 in a crown. And I think it's the first people that show up on Discord, or it's something like that. So it's like the first people that show up in the chat get like a crown 1, 2. It's like first, second, third. So just so you know, that's why those little crowns are popping up in the chat. I think that's what it is. I saw it last night on Spaced Out Radio. I was hanging out with those guys and giving Dave a hard time. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Is it possible to have something darker than darkness itself? And have you ever experienced something similar? Let's go to the Robert in Pennsylvania. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Just unmute the Discord, and you are on Troubled Minds with Mike and James and everybody else. Go right ahead, sir.
I'm just wondering, are they mistaking this negative light for antimatter? Because apparently this negative light obliterates photons.
I think, I'm not sure. I think it's, I was trying to find the paper so I could answer some of those questions, but I think it's different than antimatter, because it is, as you know, matter, antimatter are different than photons themselves. As Sora was describing, photons interact or don't, they cast a shadow. So imagine a negative shadow, but it doesn't really, I don't know. No, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a science guy, so I can't really answer that. Sora says antimatter has physical matter charge. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, but we can't see antimatter. And we can't see this negative light.
Correct. But I think if you bring antimatter into the matter universe, there's catastrophic explosion, I believe, or is that just comic books?
Well, what you're seeing there with antimatter is it obliterates everything in its path, and we have this negative light that obliterates natural light, photons. It seems to me like it's kind of similar.
Yeah, I think conceptually you're absolutely right. And again, in terms of the light and the darkness, I mean, that's, human metaphorical stuff we've been talking about forever, including good and evil. And as James brought up earlier, that type of thing. It seems as if there's one thing, there must be the opposite of said thing. And so this part doesn't surprise me, talking about actual anti-photons or whatever these things are called, negative photons.
Like there's a Superman and then there's a Bizarro Superman.
Exactly. And with Superman coming out, that's more pertinent than ever. Anybody looking forward to the new Superman? Anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
I've been paid to make that point. No, I'm just kidding. But I read the whole article, and if I'm recalling correctly, there was some speculation, not thick, just a whisper of it, that this negative light may actually be what dark matter. I mean, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'm usually not up this late.
That's okay. You're good.
The parts of space that suck everything. What's it called?
Just the void itself.
No, it's
the vacuum.
Black holes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, I remember, I read the whole article and it seemed to be there was a whisper, at least in that wondering if it might be that black holes are what are negative light.
Yeah, it could be. And also, to be fair, this particular article is very poorly written. So it's like I was trying to read it. When I was reading it out loud, it's like has things in places that normal human writers don't write. So keep in mind.
I thought it was a masterpiece.
No, you didn't. Stop it. It's not a masterpiece at all. It was a little bit rough, even to the point where the AI can write better than this kind of out of the box. So I kind of feel like it was a human writer, or unless they trained AI to write it poorly. But yeah, maybe. I mean, there's a whole lot here, and the question does really start to come to bear as you're describing here. What happens when you get photons and anti-photons and you bring them together? Is it the bigger ones, the stronger ones, the ones more of these versus more of those? Like, what happens in that space? Like, who knows? Assuming you could create these things.
I got the impression from the article that the negative light annihilates the positive, the photons. Am I misreading that?
No, I think we're all misreading it because it's poorly written. Let's see. Let me read this. So negative light is not a metaphor. There are quantifiable measure effects. Negative frequency photons in conjunction with normal light can annihilate certain wavelengths, forming dark spots which are darker than darkness. That's not like darkening by obstructing light with a blocking shadow. It's a quantum phenomenon wherein the light field energy is depressed below the normal vacuum level. By some counts, there are seven different ways to do it. So there you go. That's probably the spot you're looking for.
Okay. And there's two things that come to mind though, and I'm thinking about like that story, that well-known story of the farmer in the late 1880s who walked across his field and vanished. Nobody, just vanished into thin air. And then there was the 1945 bombers that traveled to the Bermuda Triangle and vanished. And then the rescue planes that went to rescue them, and they vanished. And the pilot of the first squadron's saying something like, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know where I'm at. And I'm wondering if maybe negative light had something to do with that.
Yeah, I wonder, because that like I said, when I was talking to Sora there, that would make some sense in terms of a cloaking aspect of reality itself, assuming again you could create this phenomenon and put it out there at scale, I do wonder, it caused, as you described, the Bermuda Triangle has that, the compasses start spinning, you lose disorientation, the whole bit, you can't see the horizon. I wonder. And what did they call, I think they called it electrical clouds or something like that is one of the things they called them as part of that. Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder if it's this instead.
Yeah. And maybe when there is negative light, and I think there was a whisper of that in the article too, that it may be some path into another dimension. It creates one.
Hey, why not? When we're talking quantum stuff, you can do anything you want to do with it because we don't understand any of it yet. But yeah, why not? Why not, right? Maybe it is the path that leads us to that conceptual dark side or those shadow people. And as James said very smartly earlier, are we shadow people to them? Maybe, right? Conceptually.
Mm-hmm. And your previous caller talking about his experience, in your near-death experience in the black that surrounded him, but he knew there was other entities in that darkness. That's common to most near-death experiences where you wind up seeing your body, and then next thing you know, you're a complete total darkness.
Yeah, I think
pitch black.
Yeah, I think some of that actually manifested in what's his name, Journeys Out of Body, Robert Monroe as well in the Out of Body
I've read
experience.
those books.
Yeah, I think there was some of that in there too. Yeah, so I don't know. It's weird.
But
go ahead.
I'm just wondering, putting the two together, of going into another dimension. This negative light, being a pathway in another dimension is there may be proof in that most of us wind up in this dark void when we have these near-death experiences, and that we're actually gone into another dimension because it's negative light. I don't know how to say it better, but I'm thinking if that's the real pathway.
Yeah, I wonder, and it is difficult to conceive in your mind's eye. Like I was thinking about this as we start. When we usually start this, I kind of do that and close my eyes and try and think about what that would look like, what it would be like, and I can't get in my mind's eye the idea of darker than darkness, and especially at scale. Like how far into the void does that go? So I'm with you. It's very difficult to describe, and it's shadow people and all the rest. But yeah, have you ever had an experience like this, or shadow people, the corner of your eye type stuff? You think there's maybe something more to it?
The kind of thing I experience is like I'll be sitting here watching your program, and suddenly I'll see like some dark thing, like a shape of a mouse, just flying across the living room here. And of course, there's nothing there. I've seen that kind of stuff.
Okay, so that sounds similar. It sounds sort of in the vein of that shadow people or shadow entity or whatever that is. Yeah, wild, man, wild. What else you got? We got a couple minutes left if you got anything else.
I can't remember ever hearing your story about your experience with this. So I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Okay.
And I'm done for now, and I'll sit back and listen.
You're the best. I will tell that tonight, I promise. Make sure everybody reminds me to do that. It's short. It'll be like, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Not really that big. But you're the best. Appreciate you, Robert. You know him, you love him. The Robert, affectionately, a mentor of mine, a mentor of us all. Go check out his book. Go check out the things he's working on. Let's support our friends. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. He's listed under The Robert. So go down to T down there on the bottom and go check out his book. Very cool stuff. I've read it. It's very good. He's a very good writer, and you should too. That's a simple thing. And he's been a good friend for a long time with these ideas and conceptual thinking. That's the whole point of doing this together. James, anything on that? And then we'll wrap this up and take a break.
Yeah, just that shadow entities are definitely a good way to put it. Because there's been accounts of, again, animal-sized, small animal-sized shadows, large animal-sized shadows, just blobs or just orbs of shadows. There doesn't seem to be one specific kind of shape that they take out there. So that's always fascinating to me that there's just so many shapes, and sometimes they even change shape. So I just want to point that out as well.
which fits into exactly what the Robert was just saying. So yeah, fantastic stuff. While you're down there in the troubledminds.org/friends, give James a follow. You know him, you love him. If you've been here for any amount of time, you know who James is. But it's always a good time to go follow James and check out the work he's doing on Salcedo Paranormal. Go check out salcedoparanormal.com or troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, click on James, and go check out his books and all the rest of the stuff. Tonight we're talking Measuring the Void, the mystery of negative light. Now, regarding this is a real thing, what in your mind's eye can you see as a negative photon? And what does it mean for the future of science? This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. More on the way. We got a couple calls coming up. We'll figure that out. And your calls as well. Here we go.
Shadows. We've got maps where nobody goes. In the night under hidden glows, guardians of what no one knows. We seek the truth, nothing can hide from me. Encloaked in silence, we traverse the lines through ancient scrolls in forgotten times. Voices echo in the halls of lore, guardians of the mysteries evermore. We seek the truth, nothing can hide from me. Shadows meet in cryptic disguise, our eyes sharp against the everlines. With silver threads we weave the stealth to guard the past, forgotten well. Signals bouncing off the astral plane, invisible codes that can't be tamed. We decode the stars under the midnight veil. A state and subcons where midnight hail. In the echoes of time where the legends lay, we tread the path where shadows play. With spectral eyes we discern the truth, unraveling tales from ancient youth. We seek the truth, nothing can...
Indeed. What's going on, guys? Hope you are well tonight. My name's Mike. Yeah. You probably know that. But who did I miss? I was over on YouTube trying to say hi to everybody and ran out of time during the break. So let's go back to the top. Let's start at the beginning. Start at the beginning. Ficini said, go back to the beginning. And so we shall. Let's see. To the top, actually, as far as it'll scroll. What's up, Race? How you doing? I didn't say hi. What's up, Shane? RC is here. What's up, Ricky? Anything is possible. Mr. Mission Control. Hope you guys are doing well tonight. Thank you for the call to Robert. Yep, fire stuff. Ioxy's here. Good evening. Hello, hello. Yeah, the little crowns, I think, are, what are they? I think they're first, second, and third on Discord, and they kind of come through the chat. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think that's what it is. What's up? What's up? Who did I miss? Yeah, RC says Malaysia flight MH370. That's been kicked around quite a lot in the UFO community. Yep, not touching that one with a 10-foot pole for a lot of reasons. Let's see. RC, I had Mr. Mission Control. How you doing? If I missed anybody, just say hi. I'll say hi back, and trying to keep up with everybody as we go. And yeah, good evening. What's going on? Hello, hello. Sweets over there on Rumble. What's up? Oh yeah, sorry about that. I got to add you as a thing. Ephemerance, what's up? Hiker, I see you. Good evening, guys. YY, Ephemerance. Margie, what's up? What's up? Thanks for the nice chat and being cool to each other. Like I said, makes my world go around when you guys are just nice to each other, just generally nice and thinking about ideas instead of drama, instead of people, instead of, all the rest of that stuff. Andy's here. What's going on? We got Molly, Mephisto, the Robert, thanks for the call. Herschel. So we got the call order is going to be Derek beat Herschel by a little bit, so he's going to go first, and then we got Herschel after that. What's up, Don, Apoc, Sora, thanks for the call. Jeff and Wisco, Jorge, Daryl, Sweets, JJ, Matt, Sal, Gaston, and Ricky, and of course the Derek the Night Stalker coming up right now. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Let's do it. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D-Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find at troubledminds.org right on top. If you're ever looking for that, it's right there. Scroll up to the top of the thing. It's the black button, and you press that, you get us live. So as Troubled Minds is live, you can listen to it directly on KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And it's an MP3 stream, so you don't have to worry about YouTube and all the stupidness they do and charge you and whatnot. But anyway, it's a cool way to do it. It's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And of course, we're on 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, well, we're talking about darker than darkness. And we started with this bizarre article that's exactly that. It's not metaphorical, it's scientific. But the headline here is, it's darker than darkness. Negative light phenomena observed for first time. Like I said, if this seems too far out there for you, just think of it in conceptual terms then. Let's talk about what it might mean. And that's how weird this gets. Shout out Gaston, I think I missed you as well. Hey, you in the chat, I see you. Okay, what do you know about it? Anything to add, James? And we'll go to Derek in Massachusetts.
Yeah, just that I wanted to mention what Robert was talking about with the Bermuda Triangle and that kind of phenomenon of things vanishing. I do wonder if this could be an explanation for that, or part of how that works, where, again, things do get dark all of a sudden, even in a bright sky for whoever is experiencing it. And then maybe that is sort of that manifesting here, and either it's intentional or not, I don't know, but that's how people and or objects get transferred to other places. Makes me think too of just objects. There's all kinds of reports of that in people's homes or buildings, objects vanishing and reappearing. Is that this negative light manifesting here and then going away and then coming back somewhere else and carrying things along with it? Just another possibility there to explain some anomalous events.
Yeah, fractals within that. And James, if you guys don't know, he's legally blind, wears a blindfold a lot of time. I wonder what sort of the physical darkness is versus sort of the internal, mind's eye sort of darkness. There's got to be some difference there. And I wonder if it's seeing this dark photon, this negative photon in some way. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. You're the best, James. Appreciate that. Let's go to Derek in Massachusetts. The Night Stalker. What's going on, brother? How you doing? Welcome to Troubled Minds.
Going on, Brutus?
You are up. Yeah, what's up? This is as usual, right? We're invoking Cthulhu and the Void and all the rest, but there are a lot of ways to take this. And we've had a Superman sighting from the Robert there with Bizarro and all the rest. But as you know, take it wherever you like. Welcome to the joint.
It's a good idea for a Superman villain, actually, because he gets his energy, his power from the sun. So I wonder if there's another, like the true opposite of Superman, the true Bizarro would be something that gets his power from the darkness, I guess. That'd be a nice little Superman idea, Robert. But yeah, wild stuff. I feel like we talked about this a little bit before, like maybe a couple of years ago. I forget, just because I remember the line, the darkness is just as pregnant as the light. Like there's stuff inside the darkness. The darkness is not the absence of light. The darkness, sometimes it's just as full. It's just as teeming with life as the light is. Which is, I don't know, just the idea of like being in some kind of darkness that's darker than dark, and like turning a flashlight on and having the flashlight have no effect. You see the bulb turn on, but then it doesn't go anywhere. It's kind of just instantly inked out. It just unsettles me. It kind of reminds me of being deep underwater in that way. So some kind of like thickness of some kind of like the equivalent of like a liquid darkness. The dark water.
Yeah, liquid darkness is a good way to put it. And imagine. And by the way, invoking Cthulhu underwater, the squid and the ink and the octopus and all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like that is literally taking the deep and turning it into this level of sort of darker than dark. Pretty wild thing.
Yeah, it's freaky. It's freaky. And just like so obviously we assume like darkness is just the absence of light and everything. Light's what creates light and stuff. But just I'm going to get into one like comic sync in a second. Just as I was looking at it, it was talking about how the void was kind of this time between eons. Like I want to give a Marvel sync, and like in between universes, kind of like Matrix style. There's a dark void, and that's where Null hangs out or whatever. But just get like the idea of if there was no light at all, if there was completely emptiness of light, will life just be gone? There'd be no life, or will life eventually find a way? It's like if God never said let there be light, will there ever be a life? Or like I would assume yes, like there's some kind of dark life. That could be what the shadow biome is, or some kind of like something will bubble up from this darkness, from this primordial darkness, and it could be all around us at all times. I mean, it could be something that like is less of a shadow thing that's like kind of interacting us for brief times, whatever, and more so just like something that's laid on right on top of us, like we're as invisible to them as they are to us, kind of, you know. But yeah, like just the idea of something eventually being birthed in the dark instead of the light just kind of freaks me out or whatever. But
I think it's supposed to.
I got one,
but you're right. It freaks me out too.
I got one comic sync. So we talked about Null before. Null from the Void. He's like the symbiote god, the black goo god. And in the movie, you can hear me still, right? Sorry, I moved my headphones.
Loud and clear. You're good.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, in the movie, that Marvel doesn't have the rights to the symbiotes. I'm pretty sure, like to Venom. That's a Sony property now. Like they sold it to Sony. So when they did the Gore the God Butcher story, and they used Null and or they used like the all black Necro sword because that's important to the Gore story. But they didn't use Null. The Necro sword is made out of these like symbiotes and stuff, and that's kind of what the living darkness is. And as a way to get around that, they just had shadows. So in this case, it was kind of darker than dark. But I'm just going to read the wiki for Null. It starts with a quote: "Child, I am Null, Lord of the Abyss, God of the symbiotes. The darkness inside you, that darkness bows to me. I am the Void." And then Null is an eldritch god of darkness and the creator of the symbiotes. While residing in the primordial void that existed between the 6th and 7th cosmosis, he was awakened when the Celestials invaded his kingdom of darkness with light. Null was chosen by the Celestials to serve as the King in Black, but rejected the responsibility. With the first symbiote in the form of a sword, the Necro sword, he used it to sever the head of the divine, or he decapitated one of the Celestials, and used its severed head, divine power, to refine the blade, linking both Null and the Necro sword to the fallen cosmic god, waging war against the light to return the universe to the void. Null became a legendary figure of divine terror and eventually found himself stranded on a nameless planet after an inhabitant stole his blade and unwillingly followed in his footsteps. He experimented with the powers and discovered that he could bond his living abyss with, quote, lesser creatures in the form of amorphous parasites that he can control. So it's like the living abyss. So he like these sentiences that dwell within this darkness, this abyss. Like he was in kind of a dark prison, like a living abyss, he called it, but it's kind of like sentient darkness. And he was able to figure out that if he kind of paired a sentient darkness with a person or with some kind of organism, then that organism will become a parasite and will do his bidding for the greater hive. And one of those parasites is Venom, the symbiote, and that's the one we know, or whatever. But the origin of the symbiotes is just sentient darkness that he used to like do his bidding, basically. But it's formed from the absence of light. And then the living abyss, I just got it down because it was kind of cool looking. The living abyss, also known as anti-life, black ichor, necro power, and live rubber, is an eldritch substance originating from the primordial cosmic void that existed before and between the iterations of the multiverse, ostensibly as an opposite reaction to the creation of life and light by the Celestials. Kings in Black are able to control and manipulate this substance and are intended to utilize it through the use of Unbeyond's Black Engine to maintain the multiverse from within. Yada, yada, yada. Living abyss is typically amorphous in black, black or red in coloration. That's Venom in Carnage, and is often described as cold to the touch, tasting like motor oil, which is the black oil, black goo theories, and with a noxious, decaying smell. though it has also appeared as having a texture resembling latex or plastic. As it purportedly originated to corrupt and destroy the light and life itself, creatures formed to the living abyss are capable of killing gods and feeding off their power. Possesses parasitic, corruptive properties, yada yada yada. So basically, like, what are you talking about? That when the let there be light, when the creation of life was started, there's always a yin to the yang, and this is the anti-life. This is the darkness, the primordial darkness that, in this case, is made to snuff out. This is the average. So if light is the main, like, what's the term? The dark counterplayer in the main character.
Yeah. The architect and the dark counterplayer. Yep.
Yeah. So the light would be the architect, and the darkness would be the living abyss, they call it, would be the dark counterplayer. Used to constantly chasing after each other, kind of like Ra constantly has to be chasing that serpent to bring the day again. And like, if the night beats the day, then the day won't come again. Like that kind of stuff. That there's always a battle raging between the living light and the living dark. But that's all I got, really.
Yeah, the circular aspect. It's interesting that you bring up Gore the God Butcher and that whole. If you guys haven't seen it, I do recommend it. Thor: Love and Thunder, I believe, is what it's called. With Gore the God Butcher. I just saw it again recently. Oddly enough, kind of randomly, was just on. I was like, let's sit down and watch this again. And then I kind of went like on a deep dive on exactly what you just said and some of the stuff we've talked about in the past. So I'm kind of fresh on this, oddly enough. And we just did a show on that sort of, the dark sun. So I wonder, there's seems to be in the air for some reason. Maybe it's stuck in my mind, but it does seem like this is something that is a recurring zeitgeist theme that suddenly makes sense when you look at this in terms of the science of discovering maybe this sort of anti-photon or whatever the hell they're calling it. Pretty wild.
Yeah. Real quick, it just got me thinking, just again, like, we interpret the void as emptiness, and then light is the first somethingness that came in, and then obviously religion interprets that as let there be light, and God is of the light. It's like luminous being and stuff, and just everything of the light is of God, and yada yada. But just what if kind of this luminous being, this big thing, kind of is just blinded by the light scenario, where it is kind of a demiurgical type of presence, this invasive presence, and like obviously Null is interpreted as a bad guy or whatever. But what if it's kind of not the case, and from the darkness's perspective, that the light is like an invasive force, kind of, and we've grown in the world, like our eyes, we only can see, like, we see light, we live in the light world, so that's just what we're used to. But just for all we know, we're living in like the realm of the demiurge potentially, and rather than that being like a prison planet, it's like we're trapped by the light, in the light, blinded by the light, and then like, but the darkness is not empty, it's full, and it's pissed at us, kind of. But I'll let you go. That's all I really got.
You're the best. Appreciate the call.
Bro.
Thanks for peeling out some time for us. Always a pleasure. You know me, love him. That's Derek the Night Stalker, Stocker. He is the best grosser in the known multiverse, as you already probably know. If you don't, go check out his YouTube channel. The link's going to be in the description, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit, because of course it's alphabetical, and it says follow. Is it the Night Stalker? I think it's the Night Stalker. Let's check it out. Oh, Night Stalker. It's under N. Yeah. So give him a follow. Please go leave him a nice comment on his YouTube page. And for everybody else, while you're there, like I said, if you're not doing this and helping our friends, you're hurting my feelings at this point. We've been doing this for a long time, and we've made a lot of really smart friends. Again, Night Stalker, troubledminds.org/friends. Click on that. Many of you have. It tickles me to go check out his page, and you guys have left really nice comments, because he does have a trailer there, and you can see him actually stalking by dark of night, and then thinking, and then calling us. And yeah, it's a special thing. Like I said, I couldn't do it at work, and think about your work. Could you peel out 15 or 20 or 30 minutes to call and talk about these wild ideas? It's difficult. Only if you're the best in the known multiverse. Love to hear your thoughts on this. We're talking darker than darkness. I will tell my tale a little later. We'll bury the lead on this. And I did have an experience maybe 25 or 30 years ago, and we'll get to that. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, because this is a weird one. And we started with this idea of it's darker than darkness, negative light phenomenon observed for first time. And it's a negative photon, as they're calling it, which means, of course, that if we think of this at scale, that yin and yang really starts to bear some fruit. And this is an old conceptual thinking, and then, fractalize that. And then what does it mean? I don't know. As usual, right? A lot of ways to look at the world, and a lot of ways to look at this particular concept. But what do you know? Have you ever seen anything darker than darkness itself? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Thanks for being patient, my man. Let's go to Herschel in Arizona. You're on Troubled Minds. Just unmute and all yours. Go right ahead.
It makes me think of the way I like sometimes think like when I'm around somebody who's just really dumb, and you like it's like you turn the light switch on, but they suck all the light out of the room, and it's like negative light. Like that's a funny topic you chose tonight, because that's the way I describe people who are just really just so dumb that they're like anti-smart. They're like counter like anti-smart. Like, but here's the thing. Here's how I look at this. This is a great, cool topic. It really made me think a lot, like already. But
thank you.
I look at it like this, like. So this is just the first part of the analogy. Like everything's like every particle, photons, whatever it is, it's just like math. Like there's a decimal point, and so we're thinking in a linear way right now. And then it goes in one direction, it's degrees of light, and in another direction, it's degrees of darkness. So of course there would be negative light or like extra dark, like because that's the way that the line moves on the decimal. Like there's zeros on one side of the decimal and there's zeros on the other side of the decimal. Now what you have to do is take that and make the analogy of it being multi-dimensional and not linear. So that's where the things come in, like where there are negative shadows, right? Like that's how you get that, because it's not just linear, it's multi-dimensional. So it moves out in all directions.
Yeah, it makes sense. And what you said there about sort of having the, if you have a 1, you must have a -1. It makes sense to me, as usual. You know the way I think in sort of these fractals and sort of opposites. And as usual, like I describe it as, if you see the tortoise, why not, the conceptual tortoise, be nice to the turtles and the tortoises out there. But you want to roll it over and see what's underneath it. And so those ideas really kind of come into play here, because it doesn't surprise me a bit that there's something called a negative photon, and that we're discovering it with this quickening I'm always talking about. You're spot on.
Yeah, and we don't. I'm going to read more about that article, the one article you posted about how they've observed it or something. We don't have to see something for it to be there. Like, to me, I can't imagine how what I just tried to describe with an analogy could not exist. I can't imagine how it couldn't be that way. Like, to me, that is just it's a theory. Of course it's a theory, because I don't know. But I can't imagine that it could not be that way. To me, that's the more obvious choice. It's a really cool, interesting concept to ponder. It really is.
Agreed.
Like it's not emotional. It's like purely like curious, and I'm trying to I'm at a loss for words, but it's just purely like fun thinking, like really not.
If I may, it's the space where science meets intuition. I think that's maybe what you're getting at.
Well, you broke up on me, man. I'm sorry.
Where science meets intuition.
Yeah, it's just really inquisitive, kind of fun thought experiment that doesn't take us into any disturbing directions.
And until you go,
nice for a change.
Until you go Lovecraft, so we won't do that. We'll save that to the final segment or whatever. But yeah,
I don't think I've had any experiences with shadow figures though. But I don't know. I don't think I have. I've had orb experiences and stuff like that where people take my picture and there's like orbs all around my body. I've had those experiences. But I don't think I've had any shadow experiences, but I've certainly had some weird stuff, but I'm not sure if I've ever experienced any shadow stuff.
Keep an eye out.
I don't think
Now
so.
that you know they might be real, keep an eye out. Who knows? Maybe we're not looking.
Yeah, maybe I'll keep an eye out for it.
Right on. What else you got, if anything?
I don't think I have anything else. I think that's pretty much it, except good night, everybody, and thanks, Mike. And looking forward to the rest of the calls, and happy, day that it is tomorrow.
Independence
don't blow
Day.
Don't blow your hands off.
Say
don't
the
blow
words.
your fingers off.
Independence Day. Happy Independence Day. You're great, Herschel. Appreciate you very much. Have a fantastic night. Thanks for the call.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Take care. You know we love him. Herschel. Commercial Herschel is the name of the Substack. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. Herschel is alphabetical, of course, as everybody is. Go check out the talented guy. Look at talent. So many talented friends. Check out his book, his new book. He's always working on a new book, always writing things, writing every day, just about. Again, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, follow Herschel there. Click the link and go buy his book. Go follow his Substack. Go follow his podcast called Easytopian. He's been a good friend now for a long time and got some ideas here, which is the point. So we're kind of at the weird spot where taking a call would be weird because we'll cut you super short. So maybe I could tell my tale now, and then we'll go to some calls after the break here. James, anything to add to what Herschel said? And then I just need about 3 minutes, and I could tell my experience. But if you got anything, go ahead. If not, I'll take over.
Just great call from Herschel and Derek. I did want to point out the ironic thing about the whole symbiote thing with Marvel. It started out as just sort of a part of one story to replace Spider-Man's outfit that was destroyed. And it's amazing to me how it developed from there into this huge part of the whole structure of the Marvel thing. It developed into that years later. But it's because it's just a huge part of that now in the comics. That's the other thing I want to point out, and I'll be done. But the whole symbiote thing now. It's over the last few years, it's just exploded into all kinds of titles, all kinds of events. It's really a driving force right now in the comics in Marvel. So, and odd timing with the shadows and the darkness and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, and even the scientific discoveries is part of it. All right, here's my tale. I'll drop it in the middle here instead of burying the lead and talking about it at the end. So this was probably 25 or 30 years ago. I don't know exactly what year it was. I was a young man, and I was watching a family member's house. They were away for a week or something, and I'm like, hey, I was kind of, when you're young and you're like all over the place, like I was sleeping here tonight, sleeping there the next night type of stuff. So they knew, they knew, and they're like, hey, Mike, come stay here. Now, I wasn't homeless. I had a home, but you're kind of sowing your wild oats and whatnot and all the rest of those things. And so a kind of transient in that way, but also they were like, hey, we need you to come hang out and stay at our place and watch. And this was like early internet. This was very, very early internet, probably, I want to say 1995, 96, where it was dial-up internet. And so I was actually playing, I watched the house, everything was fine. But one night, it was super weird. So I was staying up late. Shocker, right? Michael Strange, a young Michael Strange, was staying up late playing video games.
No.
Yeah, exactly. No, not this guy. And it was, I was actually playing Ultima Online, if you want to date how old I really am. Yeah, that's how old I am. But I was basically, because I'm not used to having a whole house, so I don't use the whole house. I just had like a room, right? And I was in a room and had my computer set up and was playing this Ultima Online with the dial-up internet. And so I had the hall light on. So the hall there's the room, there's like one room, two room, and a third room in the back, and a bathroom in the hallway, right? And then it goes out to the front. But in the front, I had all the lights off. The only light I had on, the room was dark. I had the hallway light on. Okay. And I'm just in there. It's like 2:30 in the morning, 3 in the morning, something like that. And the hall light turns off. I'm like, what the F? Like, the light bulb's got to be out, right? So I come out of the room and I flip the switch and it turns on. The light goes on. And I'm like, what the? And so I walk out into the main space, which goes out to the kitchen, and there's like a window you can see. The light turns off again. Okay. And I'm standing there in the darkness now in a strange house where I don't know the light switches as well as you should, because I don't, typically normally live there. And I'm looking, trying to get my bearings, as like the darkness kind of envelops me. And I look out to the kitchen and I see the window of like the stars. So you can see the stars in the sky. However, there's a silhouette of a person blocking the window where I cannot see the stars. And what comes to mind for me in Darker Than Darkness. And this happened, I swear to you. And I ran back into the hallway where I knew where the light switch was, and I turned it on. And then ran back out, and you know what's even more creepy? Of course, nobody was there. There was no obstruction in the window. I could see the stars again. And the front door, was wide open. That really happened. This is Troubled Minds on Michael Strange. Be right back. We're talking Darker Than Darkness. More on the way. Oops, let's play this one.
Troubled mind, the words they cast, heavy shadows from the past. A restless heart, a searching soul, seeking space to become whole. Troubled minds find open sky through every tear and every sigh. We rise, we fall, wings unfurled, more than labels in this world. In crowded streets or empty rooms, our echoes chase away the gloom. A spark of hope, a whispered truth, a shared melody, our fountain of youth. We're more than static on the line, singing louder than the signs. In every chord, we claim our part, beating drums match the heart. Grab the strings, we tune the stars. Punk rock anthems heal the scars. A blended mix of rage and art, painting freedom, that's just the start. Troubled minds take the stage. In every note, we break the cage. We rise, we fall, but carry on. Sing our truth until the dawn. In the quiet after the song, echoes of our rights and wrongs. But the music speaks for peace, in the chords we find release. Troubled minds now rest at ease, with every breath we seize release. We stand, we soar into the light, our anthem roar into the night.
Race says, Race over on YouTube says, how hasn't this song won a negative Grammy? That's funny, bro. And by the way, look, I have a sense of humor, and if you want to troll me, like I said, make sure that the slings and arrows come at me. Just don't pick on people in the chat. Don't pick on our callers. I'm the target. Okay. I can laugh at myself. I can laugh at this, and it is funny. And Race has been a good friend for a long time, and he's always coming at me, bro, but it's all in good fun. And well, I'm not going to speak for him, but I do appreciate the humor. So yeah, come at me, bro. What if I missed anybody in the chat? Just say hi. I'll say hi back. And yeah, that story really happened. So of course I locked everything up, and then like I was a little more scared to be in the house after that. But anyway, here we go. Trouble Minds coming up. Love to hear your thoughts on this. We got a bunch of calls, so let's be a little more brief than usual. Make sure we get everybody in, and here we go. Trouble Minds happening right about now. welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D-Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking about this wild article that we started with tonight. It's Darker Than Darkness. Negative light phenomena observed for the first time. Now, if there's such a thing as an anti-photon or a negative photon, what the hell does that mean for the cosmos itself? What have we been missing, basically, forever? Lots of ways to look at it. As usual, look, all reality tunnels apply. And if this is, I can take the materialist and, version of this and go, all right, well, this is probably clickbait, Mike, and you've been fooled to talk about some wild idea that makes no sense. Perfect. Cool. You're probably right. Let's do it anyway, because that's the whole point, is to kind of go past these ideas, that the roadblocks, the people that would say, well, you can or you can't do this, or you can or you can't say that. Well, let's think about it. Let's talk about it. And what if that mindset will save us from ourselves, not just now, but in perpetuity? Love to hear what you think. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's see whose hand went up first. All right, diminished return. Sora's first because you're first, but it's also you're welcome back. So keep it brief if you can. You're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead. Let's hear Sora's take, and then we'll go to Matt Sal, and it looks like Molly on the line as well. And somebody else had a hand up. So just pop on in, and Sora, it's all yours for a minute or two. Diminished return. Welcome back. What are we missing here? I'm sure we're missing tons of stuff, right? It's on mute and you're good. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. There you go.
There we go. Sorry about that.
You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. This call is going to be really like a debriefing, kind of in line with the whole anti thing. I've gone through the article, and the science matches up. Quantum theory states that there are negative frequency particles. They don't really occur much in nature that we know of, but they are there, and they are possible. And they are a product of antimatter, basically. So one of your callers was talking about that. At first, I couldn't put 2 and 2 together, but if there is a photon with a negative frequency or charge corresponding to its opposite photon, it can essentially just block out the emission of light by emitting its own particle.
Okay, so what happens when the photon and the anti-photon collide? What is the do we get the yin and yang happen? What happens there?
On the quantum scale, a very, very tiny big boom. On the visible scale, you're really just going to see black wherever that light was emitted. So it's literally emitting darkness by way of canceling out light.
I dig it. Okay, so it does make some actual theoretical sense, which, by the way, many of the things we talk about, not everything, but many of the things we do talk about are based in some of that. So, hey, we're not as crazy and wild as you think we are. We're just...
Look, the thing I love about the quantum world is that even when it makes theoretical sense, it can make absolutely no sense at all. And I don't remember who it was that the universe is under absolutely no obligation to make sense to us. So while this does make sense to me, I'm like, whoa, this opens a lot of doors for basically perception.
The doors of perception. We did a whole show on that.
It is possible to perceive darkness.
Indeed. And scales of darkness, which are as yet discovered, which is incredible. The entire point of this is that looking forward to some of this science may bring, let's say, bear fruit into spaces we never dreamed of, as which I've been describing all night, our intuition has told us are absolutely real. What else you got?
Especially when it comes to cloaking and hidden figures and these shadow figures that people are always talking about. And now I'm riveted, and I'm going to find out more about this. But that's all I got for now.
Right on. I'd love to hear it when you find out. Drop that in the Discord, pretty please. And always a pleasure, brother. Thanks for popping back in here. You know, we love him, Sora. On X, Also on the Discord, troubledminds.org. /friends, scroll down, follow Sora, do the thing. I'd love to hear what you have to think, what you think about that, or have to say about that. Matt Sal coming up next. Anything, James, on what Sora said, or any other ideas you had? And we'll go to Matt Sal, and then Molly's on deck as well.
Well, I've heard of there being sounds and even lights or just other things associated with happening at the time or before or after shadows are sighted, shadow figures, shadow entities are sighted. So I wonder if some of that is associated with that directly, where it's an energetic kind of cause and effect kind of thing, or association anyway, with the shadow that's being made. I wonder if there's that can explain some of that as well. It's not in every shadow figure case. A lot of times there is no sound, there is no other light, but there's plenty of times where there is.
Yeah. All kinds of wild stuff happening, especially with this new science. Who really knows? You're the best. I'll get back to you momentarily. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. I saw you, Jorge. If you want to work your way in here, put your hand up. We'll get you in. Like I said, I'm trying to get better at keeping everybody a little tighter and making sure we include everybody. Let's go to Matthew in California. Matt's Owl Temple of the Owl. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Go right ahead. Test. Nothing. Oh, we'll try it again. Let's try this again. I don't know if he dropped out of there, and then is he back?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, what's
Mike,
up?
Good job.
Thank you. Welcome.
I think it's my internet.
Yeah, all good. Welcome to the joint. What's on your mind? Go right ahead.
Oh yeah, man. Good show. I think there's a lot here, and I want to. I've told the story before, but I feel it fits here because it has to do with you were talking about darker than darkness, and I have this story about when I was a little kid. I was like 8 or 9, and I had this friend had a haunted house, and we would play in his parents' room, and it was dark in this room, and they had a closet, and in this closet, you have these weird feelings, but then the dog would start barking at nothing. But when the dog is barking at this closet, I would see this thing moving in the closet. And it was a humanoid figure. I couldn't see its legs, but like torso up, I could see its head, its arms. And it would move when the dog barked at it, it would move. And I struggled for so long to explain what I saw because you turn the lights on, there's nothing there. But there was something in this closet that moved, and you wouldn't see it. The closet was dark, but you wouldn't see it if it didn't move. But when it started to move is when you would see it moving across the darkness. And I struggled for so long to use those words, darker than the darkness, to describe what I saw. And it wasn't until way later on in my life I read this book, The Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, it describes this. And I'm going to read a verse here. It's from a part where Thoth is taken down to the halls of Amenti to meet death. And he describes it like this. This is from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Then hid a throne came one of the masters, taking my hand and leading me onward through all the halls of the deep hidden land. Led he me through the halls of Amenti, showing me the mysteries that are known not to man. Through a dark passage downward he led me into a hall where sits the dark death. Vast as space lay the great hall before me, walled by darkness, yet filled with light. Before me rose a great throne of darkness, veiled on it a seated figure of night. Darker than the darkness sat the great figure, dark with a darkness not of the night. And I read that because that is how I found out how to describe what I saw. Darker than the darkness. Anything on that?
Yeah, that's why it's wild that this is a concept that is going back for a very long time. And once again, it is very Lovecraftian. It is very the void. It is, you look up at the stars and you wonder about the space between from here to there. And I like to call it the quantum foam. And I mean, it's the vacuum, which we've now learned that there's no such thing as nothing. We used to think nothing was in the vacuum, and now it's like, well, no, that's not entirely accurate. It's wild that these are older concepts as well. And yeah, the closet thing freaks me out a little bit too, that you couldn't see it until it moved. Wild, man. Wild. I love it.
Yeah, I struggled to describe it, but darker than the darkness is the only way I could really describe it, because when it moved against the darkness. It was already a dark closet, but it was like blacker than black. One thing I wanted to add, something that Nicesucker had mentioned. I'm talking about the evolution of animals and how in darkness things grow. There's midnight gardens and things like this. But there's this one story about I like to talk about this. There's these caves in Mexico, crystal caves. They found these caves, and they started going down there, and these caves haven't been exposed to light like ever. No human's been down there. When they go down there and they find these animals, and all these animals, it's a whole ecosystem of animals that have developed and lived in the darkness. They've never seen the sunlight, and they're all like albino, like lizards and fish and mice. They're all albino and they're all blind. But they use their other senses, like like they can sense with their feelings where the prey to get food. They don't have eyes, and so it reminds me of how I think Nicesucker was talking about this, about what happens to a place that lives with no darkness. There could still be things in the darkness that we just can't see.
Yeah, another Tolkien reference. I invoked it earlier with that Rankin Bass. Did I say it? Rankin Bass. There you go. Your mind working in mysterious ways. 1977, The Hobbit. It was darker than a patch of midnight that had never been cleared away. But also Gandalf invoked it in the Mines of Moria when he described that there are. What did he say? Darker and more ancient things than orcs in the mines, or something like that. I'll see if I can pull that the exact quote up, but it was something to that effect. Again, Tolkien had such a way with language, as we were saying earlier.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Like the ancient, magic before the dawn of time. Thanks, Mike. It's a good show. There's a lot here. I feel the science catching up and giving us this information about darker than the darkness. This is a good thing, because it makes me wonder, what else is out there. Thanks, Mike. Good show.
Great call. You were the best. Appreciate you very much. Have a fantastic night. Tell Lacey we said hi. Matthew in California. You know him, you love him. Temple of the Owl is the name of his podcast, his radio show. Check it out. templeoftheowl.com. Also, troubledminds.org/friends. And scroll down. It says follow Matt Sal here. Affectionately, Matt Sal. That's his spirit animal, of course. And the one he invokes when he does his esoteric wisdom on his podcast. You should check it out if you haven't. I think I was looking at this because we were just putting the website up. 44 episodes in, and always invoking ancient ideas for the modern mind. So if you haven't followed Matt Sal, I don't know what you're doing. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, follow Matt Sal, templeoftheowl.com. Fire stuff. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you. And you guys tell me. We're talking about darker than darkness tonight, and I'll see if I can find that Gandalf quote. If anybody out there can help me out and find that Gandalf quote, it was something like that. There are darker things in the depths than orcs, or something like that. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. James, anything you got? And we'll go to, got some calls. We got Molly, and it looks like Joseph in the Bronx is calling back as well.
Just that if there's time later on, I do have a story about, like I said earlier, Shadow, something that used to hang out in my closet, my storage room for a while. So if there's time, we'll get to that.
Sounds good. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Let's go to Molly. Molly on the Discord calling on the phone line. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Go right ahead.
I'm good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. No complaints. Talking about wild ideas with smart friends. What's on your mind? Go right ahead.
So I have kind of like a different concept, I guess, conceptual story versus like darkness and an experience that I had personally. Well, let me ask first, because I was trying to go through the rules. Like it has something to do with me personally. Like I had experienced like an overdose. Is that okay to talk about?
Yeah, it's a personal experience. All the disclaimers apply. All the things. Don't do drugs, kids, and things. But we're talking about personal experiences
and
together.
if anybody needs help, reach out. Yeah,
But do all the things.
So,
Go ahead.
I had tried a certain type of drug, and it was a downer, and I ended up overdosing. Long story short, and while I was out, I didn't know at the time where I was at, but prior to that, let me back that up. I had an experience in a car accident where I had, died for a moment. And in that experience, when I was essentially, flatlined, I remember being in a space of light. I guess what you would experience is a light at the end of the tunnel, or the tunnel of light, whatever. But when I had this death experience with the overdose, it was black, and it was the darkest dark that I've ever experienced, and the only way I could associate it with anything for us to understand is if you watch Stranger Things, when 11 is in her little space with her blindfold on, and it's that dark. Like that's what it felt like. It felt like this great abyss, a large place, but it was just dark. I seen nothing, I heard nothing, and it was not very good, versus the other experience that I had when I had died. There was the light, and it was very different. And I hope that no one else has have to experience that, but it was, that was my experience. And also that one time my daughter, she was like, putting her to bed, and she's like, "Mommy, can you leave the light on? I'm scared of the dark." And I don't know, my mind, I just came up with this. I said it on the fly. I was like, you're not scared of the darkness. You're just scared of what you can't see. So I just want to share that too. That's about it.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. Also, real quick before you go, I had an experience like that. Like I talked about when I fell down in the parking lot and kind of clacked out for 30 seconds or whatever it was. I experienced that. It was that darker than darkness. It was literally like snap your fingers and it was the void, and then you're back. It was so strange that I do wonder, right? Because the different experiences, how maybe the trauma involved. I don't really know. As usual, like I say, this stuff is way above my pay grade. However, we have a ton of anecdotal stuff that goes back thousands of years, people talking about exactly what we're talking about tonight. And I do wonder if maybe some of these places are, quote, places. And so a question from the chat too, that the darkness you experienced, it didn't feel good. It felt like you shouldn't have been there, like you should have been somewhere else. Am I right?
Yes. It was almost as if because so eventually it led to me being Narcan, and I guess when I was coming to and coming back to consciousness, it felt as if I was being pulled from underneath water. Like that's because it was just like the void in my ears, and the sound there was none, and then it was like coming to it. That's that. But yeah, I was not supposed to be there, and I don't want to be there.
Yeah, amen. Same here. Yeah, exactly right. Like I said, I described it as, how would you really know? But I described it as I kind of know what dying might feel like. But who knows? Because if there are different places you do go in that conceptual space, the Robert Monroe stuff or astral travel, or, stay away from the light, Carol Ann. I mean, there's so much here that kind of makes you go, well, I don't know. Maybe that is it. Maybe that is the, but our feelings and our intuition tell us everything we need to know about that space. And I'm with you. I don't want to go back.
Right. I think that's a space in between. And that's where I think, how we go, you know what I mean? Like that, I was not supposed to go like that. Like when you hit your head, you're not supposed to go like that. So that was not okay. You know what I mean? I think we'll know when it's okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Which again is anecdotally for thousands of years, people talking about the light, seeing the light. I wonder, as usual, right? There's a lot of the yin and yang aspect of this. And if there's, as a conceptual thought here, if there's darker than darkness, is there a lighter space than the bright light that we, conceptually go into? I don't know. Just a food for thought on that. If you have an answer, you don't have to answer. It's really rhetorical. But if you have an idea, welcome to hear it. If not, I understand.
For me, I don't know. I associate a lot of light sound, like with sound, and I don't know how to explain that. Really, I don't know how to put that into words. Like frequency, it all goes together. You know, at certain points, certain colors or certain lightness, or you know that they are on the scale of sound too. So you know, I don't know how to explain that. I did want to throw in here though, maybe with James like being, you know, legally blind. Like I've meditated, you know, and when I meditate on different chakras, like I can see in my mind when I close my eyes, I can see those different colors. And I just wanted to ask him when he gets back on if he could, does he feel energy and does he see it, like even being blind?
Go ahead, James.
That's a good question. I don't know. I have had times where when I'm laying down in bed or when I have the blindfold on and I'm just really relaxed sitting here in my chair, I will see lights moving around in front of my eyes, like blue and red lights that are like kind of like blob shaped things, but I don't sense anything from them other than just seeing those colors. But I do sense energy, but it's not always there's not always visual phenomenon with it when I'm near or around energy.
Right. Okay, I was just curious about that. But I appreciate you guys. You're so awesome, and thank you for taking the call.
Thanks for calling. Pleasure. And you know where to find us. Don't be a stranger. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. That's that would be Molly on the Discord. Come meet again all of our amazing smart friends. Reality tunnels, different ways to look at the world, experiences. This is why we need to talk to each other. That's why we need to, really, honestly, and kind of in the most granular sense of these ideas, because this is what we get. We get an amazing space with just an unbelievable amount of depth in the calls and the ideas, and that's the point. Yeah, I appreciate that very much. Molly, I should have asked you when I had you on the line. If you got a social media you want to share, you know the drill. You're definitely welcome. How to get on the Troubled Minds /friends list is you just help us one iota, one little bit. That's it. So if you have a social media you want to share or whatever, let me know and I'll add you. I got a list brewing that we'll definitely add you to as well if you want to share. Like I said, I consent and all that stuff. So, all right, yeah. It's weird. It is a weird thing. And it is, like I said, it's pretty ubiquitous going back in, near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, the ideas of these, the light or the void, and which of course is exactly where we should be tonight, because that's what we're talking about specifically and directly. And I want to add this. I should have started with this, but I'll add it right now because we got a minute to kill here. And hang tight on the phone line, guys. I see you, Jorge. I see Joseph in the Bronx, and Daryl as well. And we'll get you in. But I don't want to cut anybody short for a 60-second call. But check this out. As part of this, I was kind of going through and looking for some quotes or some ideas regarding the light and the darkness, and the yin and the yang and all the rest. But this is a quote from Rumi. Okay, Rumi. You can't steal the light from someone who carries a galaxy of stars in their heart. And I read that and I was like, that's it. We're doing that one. I'm using that one. Absolutely using that one, because why not, right? Absolutely. That's the whole point of this, is that, I don't know. I think per usual, when you look at what it means to be human versus the void itself, it's daunting. It's terrifying. Consciousness versus deeper, darker, more ancient than we could ever conceive. And speaking of which, thank you to the Robert who mentions this on Rumble, which thank you again for being. See, we don't need Jamie. Y'all are Jamie, if you guys know what I mean, from the Joe Rogan podcast. So Robert adds this. Sounds like you're referring to a memorable line from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. Gandalf says, "There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world." See how I'm that's exactly it. He found it based on my butchery of it. But you see what I mean? In the deep places of the world, Yeah, where's Jamie? We don't need Jamie. We don't need no stinking Jamie. We got you guys. We got the fam together. All right. Anyway, that's what's on my mind tonight. We're talking about darker than darkness. Have you ever experienced this? And what do you think about the idea of a negative photon? How weird does it get? We got Jorge coming up. We got Joseph in the Bronx. We got Daryl in New York, and your calls as well. What do you know about this? This is a weird one, as usual, because we like to get weird. It is what we do. But also recognize a lot of these anecdotal things go back thousands of years. And of course, they've seeped into pop culture. If you guys remember Poltergeist from the early 80s, late 70s, whatever it was. Carol Ann, stay away from the light. But then, Carol Ann, go toward the light. Weird, right? Feel like we're bugs in a cosmic soul bug zapper. Anyway, more Troubled Minds coming up. Hang tight. Be right back. Don't go anywhere.
In the heart of the steel jungle, machines hum a digital rumble. Gates of cyber open wide, plug us into cosmic tide. Feeling sparks across the sky. As knowledge flies, we're amplified. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In this massive data center dome, eternal truth start to roam. Circuits flicker with endless fire. Data streams that never tire. Unified by electric dreams. Unlock the truth in silver beams. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. Synthesize what we seek and find. Infinite paths in the network mind. Answers buzz from star to core. Knowledge whispers evermore. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In realms where the data streams collide, imagination and logic side by side. In a labyrinth of digital names, we transcend our earthly ways. Tapping keys like cosmic tones, spikes become our whispered homes. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate.
And there, my friends, is the Midnight Stargate Ritual. Indeed. Also, Sweets sent this. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world. So thank you. Who needs Jamie when we've got dozens or hundreds or thousands of them? You guys remember that old movie, I Am Spartacus? I am Spartacus. Because, they were looking for, the Romans are like, which one of you slaves is Spartacus? And everybody stands up and says, I am Spartacus. We need a shirt that says, I am Jamie. We don't need Jamie. We don't need no stinking Joe Rogan Jamie. We're all Jamie. And of course, I just mean that in the nicest way. Hope you're doing well tonight, just hanging out and talking about Wild Ideas by Dark of Night. It is our way. Please follow our friends. Really, really, really. It would mean a lot to me. Gaston, what's up? Matt L, thanks for the call. Sora, thanks for the calls. Plural, Jeff and Wisco, Molly, thank you for the call. Fantastic stuff. Don't be a stranger. You're welcome back anytime. Hey, you, Robert, thanks for the, hey, you, / next person, Robert, not hey, you, Robert. Hey, you, Robert, thanks for the call. Dawn, Apoc Sweets, We got the Quantum is here, Jorge coming up next, and Herschel and Sylvain. I see you guys. Joseph in the Bronx also coming up on the phone line. I see you there. And yeah, what's going on? RC adds this, and this is really, we're disconnecting from Discord or something. Anyway, or from the restream. RC adds, you're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. Next stop, the Twilight Zone. Indeed. Indeed. Yep, there you go. NY Debs, how you doing? Says, hope Charlie's watching. Shout out, Charlie, if you're out there. Thanks for the call. Good evening. Good evening, guys. What is up? How you doing? If I missed anybody, say hi. I'll say hi back and do my best to keep up with everything here. Anyway, here we go. Troubled Minds happening right about now. I think the order was, let's see, the order, we're going to go to the phone line first. Joseph was first, and then we'll go to Jorge, and then Daryl after that. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming at all the places, doing all the things. 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand, and of course, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, the Troubled Minds Radio Network. Tonight, we're talking about darker than darkness. Is it true, conceptually, that there are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world? And in this case, we're talking about photons. Maybe those are the orcs, or maybe not. But of course, this article starts as it's darker than darkness, negative light phenomena observed for first time, and they're calling these negative photons, which means there is a scale of the light spectrum that physics cannot account for as yet. It's a quantum thing. It's complicated. Can you create these things? Probably not. However, imagine plus 1 million years of technology. I think you might be able to. Anyway, what are your thoughts here? We're talking shadow people. We're talking all manner of ideas here. Of course, Gore the God Butcher comes to mind, thanks to Derek the Night Stalker. And what do you guys know about this? Because as my tale told, my actual experience, which I promise you that happened, it spooked me forever. And also, by the way, it was probably a nosy neighbor that maybe had the key and like didn't want me to shoot him or something, so he ran out the door. That was my thought. But what if it wasn't? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks for being patient, friends. Let's go to Joseph in the Bronx. What's up, brother? Welcome back. How are you? Go right ahead.
Hey, what's going on?
Chilling, man. Doing what we do. What do you know about darker than dark?
Yeah. Sounds like to me that darker than dark as far as photons and stuff like that go. But I just wanted to like piggyback off of what the girl Molly was saying. She asked the dude like, can he see lights and stuff sometimes or whatever? And I would say that like if you look directly into the sun, you know, like have you ever looked directly into the sun yourself?
Accidentally, and it was bad. Yeah. I know what you're getting at, though.
Yeah, I do it sometimes, and I look directly into the sun, and then you know you see all different types of lights. You can see blue, red, orange, and stuff like that. So I do that sometimes. Also, so darker than dark. As far as photons, I believe when who said that?
Gandalf. Yeah, Gandalf.
Gandalf. Well, since he was like a wizard or something, he dealt with like metaphysical science, then that would entail that he was enlightened, right? So when you achieve like a light body, that means your sensory system and how you define light or frequency would change. Just like electricity and fire is one of the same thing, but it's different, right? It's perceived plasma beams and lightning and lasers is different, but it's really doing the same thing. You can transfer data through electricity, through light, through plasma, and through lasers and stuff like that. So it's the same thing. I think photons, the as far as dark of the dark, negative photons is basically what you referring to dark matter. So dark matter is basically is antimatter. So they refer to that as the black stuff in outer space or whatever the case is. And I got one experience where I could say that I think it's just, of course, there's different spectrums of light that we can't see. But what I used to do somewhere, I used to go in the bathroom, right, and turn off all of the lights, and I would like put like a cover over my head, and or like tie my eyes up or something like that, and I would try to see in the dark. I would like try to see through my eyelids or something. And something that I noticed was light. It's like your eyes emit light, so light comes from the body too, some type of way. Even when you're in complete darkness and your eyes are shut and you can't receive any light, light comes from the body. I think it's because we have an electrical charge, so it's going to naturally produce light. But one thing that I did notice was it's like a film or something that kind of like, it looks like neurons or something in the mist, like in the darkness and stuff like that. And so I've looked at the dark of the darkness, and even in the darkness, there's light.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think the term dark of the darkness means anything there's nothing that's blacker than the darkest dark, right? So I just think that
except real quick on that, it's sort of that doors of perception, like we were talking about earlier, and that becomes the problem, is because it's a human experience. Okay, and so I'm with you. That sensory deprivation, the blindfold, sort of the dark of the dark, sort of brings a light within. But I think it's our mind trying to bring that light back to us, right? So what if there was an actual anti-photon or this negative photon, where if you shined it on you, this, again, imaginary flashlight putting these things on you, that maybe you phased out of this reality for a moment. Like you became darker than nothing, darker than the absence of light. I don't know. It's again, a thought experiment. That's the whole point of talking about this. But I'm with you. I get exactly what you're saying, that sensory deprivation.
So you're saying
Go ahead.
If you shine a light on something, and it becomes dark, that's what antimatter would be, like negative photon.
Kinda, yeah. And that's what Robert was saying earlier. Kinda, yeah. Except it's just the photon, not the antimatter itself. So it's just the absence of light at scale in reverse. It's a weird concept, but yeah, that's what we're talking about. And I'm with you. I agree with the sensory deprivation, the blindfolds, and that type of stuff. That you see the colors.
You churning my brain right now, because it would probably be like similar to polarities. So if you got negative and positive magnetic polarities, whatever magnetism is on the light spectrum, you're talking about a polarity within the realm of light or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of that, yeah, like perceiving it like that, but there's other realms of perception to perceive it. It's kind of like, you see, like I always say, math is made up, because you could actually come up with an equation to say 2 + 1 = 4. It's possible. All we got to do is add make up x equals 1. Algebra is basically that. You know what I'm saying? Like, or 2 + 1 = 4, because whenever there's a 2 and a 1 together, you must add another one. But the one that you add is just an imaginary one, but you still got to count it, because whenever you add a 0 behind a number, it multiplies. Like, math is made up and stuff like that. So I do believe that like you can, come up with your own thing.
Yeah, I would call that cooking the books of mathematics, and to say that it's not possible is, I don't know. Imagine what alien math is like. What would the aliens from Alpha Centauri? What kind of math would they be doing? So I'm with you. I follow you. I think there's probably some stuff that we don't know of yet. And absolutely. Welcome back, bro. Where you been? What's going on over there in the Bronx?
Hey man, I had to take a hiatus after we got Donald Trump in there. So, no.
Fair enough. Hey, fair enough, man. I'm already sick of the dude. I'm already sick of the dude, and we're like not even 6 months in, or barely, or whatever. I'm just like, what do you just shut his damn mouth, please? Stop.
Yeah, man. But just the dark of the darkness. I'm trying to indulge in some light, man. I think humanity is about to go through a dark phase. It was funny that you mentioned that, though. I think that we're about to I think we're going through like a biblical moment where 7 years of peace was had. Everybody learned little things, made money and stuff like that. And now the wars are about to start, recessions, pandemics possibly. So I think everybody that's, did stuff like you, tried to receive some light, and stuff like that, or be prepared in times like those.
Well said. Amen. That's why I'm here. Hey, when you see a lot of darkness around you, become the light. It's the white pill aspect of this. Yeah. And like I always say, and you know this, you've listened for a long time and been a good friend for a long time. If we got ourselves in this mess, we can get ourselves out of it. Just keep your eyes open, keep your head on a swivel, and don't succumb to the doom, because I think that's the biggest psyop of all time. What else you got, my man?
Yeah, just whenever you're in the dark, just close your eyes. In the light that's being produced from your heart, pumping the electricity through your body, is gonna do what it needs to do. Maybe your brain needs some maybe your brain needs some light.
Yeah, maybe so. And also, recent science also suggests that we do emit photons not just from our eyes, but from every cell in our body. So you're right. We are light beings, as they say. If you want to think about
biophotons.
Yeah, bioluminescence, all the rest of that stuff, biophotons, exactly, as part of us.
And they say that everybody has a specific signature too. So biophotons are basically like DNA that happens whenever there's a specific activity on the cellular structure, or chemical releases in the body. So we each basically you have a DNA signature from light that's emitted from your body. So every time you see, like in the Bible, where there's like this saint or somebody with a glow in the aura around them and stuff like that, everybody has that, but everybody's light isn't really as bright. It's what it is, unless you've achieved a certain type of thing,
Well said. Well said. Thanks for finding your way back, because I've been missing you. When people call for a minute and then don't call, I wonder. I'm like, did I? We as humans, we're always like, did I say something to piss them off? Like you always want to take it personal.
Like, did they get me or something?
Yeah, all that too. Like, you never know. Tragedies happen and stuff. And I'm not pointing the bone. I'm not trying to do that at all. But I mean, sometimes you get a new job and your schedule changes. It's simple stuff. So
and
I don't know.
They call, and then some of the other guys call up and like, now that we've achieved our victory, so that was too fun. No, but I get it.
All right. Just letting you know, I've been thinking about you. I've been wondering where you've been. So welcome back. Welcome back to the joint. Keep dreaming about the light and finding the light in the darkness. You're definitely one of us, brother. Appreciate you very much.
All right. Same with you.
Have a great night. Joseph in the Bronx. There you go. There you go. Like I said, when we end up missing people, I think about you guys. When you call and you call and you call and you call and then you stop calling, I wonder. Yeah, there's a lot going through my mind, a lot of great friends, a lot of smart people we've had as part of this. And so glad to have you back. I hope everything's the best in the Bronx. I've never been to the Bronx, I think. I've been to New York City. I don't think I've actually been to the Bronx because it's, not a tourist destination, I'm told. But anyway, and I'm not throwing jabs here. I'm just saying, never been there. So I have no comment. You only know the hyper reality of what people tell you about the Bronx, but it's probably not as accurate as I'd like to think. You guys are the best. Thanks for being patient and with each other and sharing the airwaves. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We're talking, it's darker than the darkness. What does that feel like? And is there really such a thing as a negative photon, negative light? Let's go to Daryl in New York. Also in New York. What's going on? How are you tonight? Welcome to the joints. All yours. Go right ahead. Hello, hello.
Quantum. Can you hear me? Oh, wait.
Yeah, you're good. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Do your best. Get close to the mic and do all the things. And
okay, let me turn up my sound. Hold on.
You're good. I got you. I've got you.
Okay, great.
I've got you. Go ahead.
Let me get to my notes. I was reading about this negative light, and then I got into this, rabbit hole that turned into negative time. And because of this refraction of light, it seems that, to me, in my opinion, this is the discovery of time travel, because of the time it takes for these photons to go through the, wait, where's my notes? Hold on a second. Was I in this browser or this browser? Wait a second. No, okay, it was this one. I have so many articles. Okay, oh wait, hold on. Where did that article go? Just a second. A world without light, and then, oh, shucks.
I got you. I think I got you. We're on the same page. I've got it. Negative time discovered for the first time ever, flowing from the future to the past. Is that the one? Because I've already
yes. The mystery of negative light, and then also the negative time theory. I think there's a delay when these photons go through the atoms, that they actually. It's hard to describe anything quantum physics because it's so confusing, but they actually go through faster than they come back, or something like that. So they exceed the time exceed, like the dark. I lost the page. Where the hell? Let me look in history. Wait. Love.
It happens.
So many tabs open up. All right, I'm sorry. Oh shoot. Maybe it wasn't in this. Okay, that's the opera. Let me just check Google. Okay, let me just check. One thing was a history. Dark matter, negative light. Dark matter, dark energy, and dark matter. World without light. Evidence of negative time. There it is. Negative time found in quantum physics experiment. So the physicists showed that photons could seem to exit a material before it enters it, revealing observational evidence of negative time. So that's the rabbit hole I started getting into. This is unbelievable. So even at great distances, let's see. This was done in the University of Toronto. That wave particles of light, can spend a negative amount of time zipping through a cloud of chilled atoms. In other words, photons seem to exit a material before entering it. It took a positive amount of time, but their experiment observing that photons could make atoms seem to spend a negative amount of time in the excited state is up, wrote the physicist at the University of Toronto. There's a new study uploaded to the preprint at September. It hasn't been peer reviewed. Anyway, this quantum physics is like, it's constantly changing. They're constantly changing their minds. It's both this and it's both that, these excited electrons lapse into their original state. They release absorbed energy as emitted photons, introducing a time delay in the light observed transit time through the medium. So they wanted to measure the time delay, which is technically called a group delay, and whether it depends on the fate of the photon. So this is pretty serious. If they could manipulate time with light, you know what I'm saying? They can time travel ultimately. Right?
Yeah. So actually, I'm I kind of went down the same rabbit hole a little bit, and I wasn't sure we were going to get there because there's a lot just to talk about with the darkness and the light, and Carol Ann, stay away from the light, all the rest of that.
Right.
But it does lead us into this as a Sora also says in the chat, look up tachyons, and which is basically the subspace field of Star Trek, that sort of sci-fi, like how can these ships actually travel at light speed in all the different directions, but then they communicate instantly with each other or semi-instantly because of this subspace field. It's tachyons. It's this space where time is not linear like we describe it. It's a sort of outside the human construct. And we've talked about that before, of course, in the past. But yeah, you're on the same page with me because that's where this led for my mind as well. I was like, wait. So if we start slicing reality into these layers, and there is fractal light and there's fractal dark, then yeah, right? Why not? I mean, discovering this stuff doesn't phase me one single bit. I want to read this to you real quick. This is from Niels Bohr. If quantum mechanics hasn't profoundly shocked you, you haven't understood it yet. So just to back you up, so some of the great minds that studied this forever and were pioneers in the field are still like, yep, nope, yep, nope. That's it. You're right. It's confusing as hell.
Duh. Yeah. Right. Super duh. Totally confusing. Oh, the other thing I read was the wait, no. The dark matter and dark energy. How about that? Now, because the universe is supposedly expanding, that's a matter of dark energy, not dark matter. So, they're defining two separate things. But the dark matter, I don't think they have. I think the jury's out on dark matter anyway. I think everything has some kind of property, I don't know. I think the jury's still out on the dark matter or the dark energy.
You were correct.
But,
and as Matthew in Colorado very smartly said, this is probably months ago, or maybe even years ago at this point, he said that dark matter is sort of a placeholder theory. Like we can actually measure the gravitational effect, but we can't like put a finger on it and say, well, here you go. Here's a chunk of dark matter that you can put in your pocket. Yep, we don't know what the hell this is yet.
It's not nothing. It's not just nothing. But anyway, I've got 3 little jokes for you. You know how the black hole went on a diet?
No, I haven't heard this one.
It ate light.
Of course, of course. There we go.
All right. How do you know that protons are Catholic?
Not sure.
They have mass.
Of course.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. No, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
This is really, really bad. What would you call a boy band of Thomas Edison, George Westinghouse, and Nikola Tesla? A boy band, like a rock band. What would you call that?
Not sure.
AC/DC. What else?
What else?
Okay.
Of course.
I'm done.
You're the best. You're the best. Oh, by the way, before you go, your take on the Bronx.
Oh, I don't think I would copy off of his math test. I don't want to sit next to him in math.
Stop
class.
Stop it.
No.
Stop it. No, meaning, have you been there? And it basically, countrywide, it kind of gets a really bad rap. Does it deserve it?
No, the Bronx. He's talking about?
Yeah, the Bronx.
Oh, I love the Bronx.
Okay. Well,
I love the.
There you go.
Oh no, the Bronx is awesome. I did I did a lot of bike riding in the Bronx. There's a tour of the Bronx. There's the Bronx Botanical Gardens, the Bronx Zoo. There's City Island, which is fabulous. You should watch that movie. I think it was called City Island with Andy Garcia. So funny. Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful parts of the Bronx. I mean, there's a lot of funky parts of the Bronx, but you have to choose your neighborhoods. But
There's a lot of funky parts of Vegas too. So yeah, that's a
yeah,
fact.
there's funky parts everywhere, but it's getting better, it's definitely getting better, and some beautiful park areas, and definitely good cultural stuff.
Right on.
Bronx Zoo is amazing. I mean, it's like going to another country. You can't believe like how big it is, and they have all kinds of ways to see it that you don't have to walk. It's that big that you don't want to walk the whole thing and be exhausted. And there's animals like from everywhere. It's a great zoo if you like zoos.
Okay. So there we go. We got
There's
somebody that lives out that way that can say, no, it's a kind of a nice place. It just depends on where you go. I thought so, as usual, right? Things get
Italian. There's an Italian neighborhood with great Italian food. What else can I say good about the town? Just go there. You'll love it.
all right.
New York is great.
Go there. You'll love it. And you were great.
Okay.
Appreciate the call, Daryl. Always a pleasure. Have a fantastic night.
Yeah, you too. Have a great night. Great.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Go give her a follow. troubledminds.org/friends. Follow Daryl. Be right back. I'll tell you about it when we get back. Love to hear your thoughts. Nobody on the phone line if you want to jump in here. What is darker than dark?
Crazy colors swirling, got the laughter in the air. Jesters in the night, they weave magic everywhere. Clouds that juggle dreams, wild world is in despair. Nothing's quite as certain when reality's a game. Chaos in the corner, whispers calling out your name. Look around, it's laughter, even when we're feeling pain. You know what you want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist. Dancing shadows flicker under neon all aglow, while the stage is set for tales that nobody will know. Echoes of the laughter as the lost ones see the show. Life's a playful circus where the chaos takes a bow. Joy and sorrow blending in the rhythm that we vow. Join the ride of madness, it's the only way for love. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist. Twists and turns and shadows, laughter in the night. A tapestry of madness, dancing with the light. Fools and fun were woven, chaos in our stride. Embrace the wild, let the laughter be our guide. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist. Falling in the rhythms, beats that pound and thrum. A flashing carnival where the misfits come undone. Whirling through the madness with our hearts set to ignite. In the symphony of chaos will remain the shining light. Yeah, nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. What's going on? What's up? Ioxy says this. All callers are amazing. The smiley face and the fire. Absolutely right. Like I said, we've carved out such a unique space with so many amazing people, smart people that can think about things conceptually without dogmas and talk about ideas. It's rare. It's rare. It doesn't have to be. So let's take it back. Let's prove that we can be cool and chill and hang out and wonder about things that are Pretty wild. There you go. Yep. Robert adds it over on speaking of which, that the evidence of negative time found in quantum physics. Yep, I got the article as well. I found that in the rabbit hole. There's not really anything regarding this sort of negative photon. So nobody on the line. If you guys want to jump in here, love to hear your thoughts. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. Yada, yada, blah, 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 all the things. 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Troubledminds.org is the website. Of course, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. That's where we're broadcasting. Troubledminds.org. You want to be part of the conversation, love to hear your thoughts. We're talking about negative light, the negative photon. Is it possible to measure the void and consider the idea of darker than the absence of light itself? I don't know. It does seem very biblical. It does seem very, kind of in the terms of, as Derek said very smartly earlier too, Derek the Night Stalker, bringing up the dark counterplayer and the architect. And that was a Philip K. Dick cosmology of not just our cosmos and the universe we live in, but it's the larger construct of a sort of multiversal construct of push and pull, yin and yang. And we've talked about this in the past as well, that duality of creation. We've done lots of shows on that, of if one entity is the creator without pushback, without a creative muse, then it's easy to build an actual dystopia instead of a utopia. Shout out Matzal for that one. Look, we got lots of smart friends thinking about these ideas. But what do you know about the idea of measuring the void? You think it's possible that there is a level of darkness that goes beyond the space of the absence of light itself? And what does that look like at scale? I mean, we're talking about symbiotes and Marvel. We're talking about Cthulhu and Lovecraft. We're talking about, in the beginning, God said, let there be light. And how weird does this get? That's what's on my mind tonight. As usual, weird stuff, weird ideas, cosmologies, colliding minds, reality tunnels. And yet, we find a way to hold it all together. What do you guys think? How weird does it get? And don't make me delve into my bag of tricks of how weird, because I got a bunch of weird. Read the write-up. It is very good tonight. I tried it a different way, but it's very scientific and very, check it out. Follow the Troubled Minds newsletter. You can find that, of course, on troubledminds.org. Right on top, it says subscribe to our newsletter on Substack. Let's go to James. James actually has some, first, your take on any of this. Anything that anybody called about that we haven't talked to you about. Second, you've got some an experience you want to tell about this darker than darkness as well. Welcome back, bro.
Yeah, and if any callers come in and you need to cut me off, I will be a very angry. No, I'm kidding. It'll be fine.
Superman. James is Superman. With a Superman coming out, James, the sequel will be super mad with James. Sorry, guys.
So I do think with technology getting better and better, and possibly more better, more, I don't know, precise with things. We talked about this before, where there's already reports of cameras and vehicles and things like that picking up figures or picking up presences, supposedly, of people walking around them when people are in vehicles. This technology is getting better and better at picking up things. So I wouldn't be surprised if someday, we hear more about this somehow, from some kind of technology that's used out there somewhere, or here on the planet, possibly, that tells us more about this whole negative light thing. So I would not be surprised at all if that happens at some point. But yeah, so when I've been living in this apartment now for about 18 years. And I don't know, a few years after I moved in, I noticed that my storage room closet, it used to be my bedroom, but eventually decided I liked being out here by my computer and everything, so I kind of turned my living room into a bedroom. But that storage room closet, I always noticed at night, I would get a sense of a presence there. I never saw anything there at the time, so I don't know if it was visually there, but it didn't move, so I just didn't see it or not. I'm not totally sure on that. But the feeling I always got when it was there, and it was only there at night. It was like it needed a place to stay at night, and that was where it was staying. It was this presence. I got this feeling of, I don't mean you any harm. Leave me alone, and I'll leave you alone. And that's the way it stayed. That's the way it always was for many years, until just a few years ago. And I would go, if I had to go put something in that room or take something out, I would actually say out loud, "It's just me. I'll be in there, but only for a minute." And I would do what I had to do, and then leave the room, and I never had any problems. So a few years ago, I noticed while I was listening to some show or other on paranormal, of course, because that's mostly what I listen to. I got a sense of a presence, someone looking at me a little ways behind me, and I looked, and there was this person-sized shadow, darker than dark, as the phrase goes, and it was just I couldn't make out any features, any arms or legs. It was just like an oval shape, but the size of a person. And I saw it go back towards the storage room eventually. And I thought that's fascinating. They've never done that before, And they did it the next night. And then after that, I never sensed that presence in that closet again. So I feel like somehow, whoever this was, they were saying goodbye by coming out those couple of times. And I haven't had any problems ever again with anything like that. And not that it was a problem to begin with. So often you hear about this shadow figures or whatever, that there's so many reports, and I'm not doubting anyone, that they're negative. And I do think they are negative, but also, as with anything sensational, that's all that you're going to hear about. You don't hear about the neutral or the positive ones unless you really go looking for those reports.
Yeah, which is, again, like I said, it's important to recognize that human binary is that the light and the darkness is, I mean, clearly and obviously, like a predator prey situation in the dark is scary AF because you can't see, and that's our primary human function is our vision. It's what made us the apex predator. We have many more, our hearing and all the rest of the stuff, and our hand-eye coordination, all things that kind of come with it, and that the sixth sense and all whatever. There's so much that kind of cooks into us or we're not cooked. It's baked into us. I'll say we're cooked later, but it's been to invoke James and really make a super mad James for the sequel. But it is one of those things where you consider it and go, okay, so the darkness is scary. It always has been. And you turn the lights down, or, you're out in the woods and by a campfire and you hear like a, like some noise out there in the woods. Like, just like, what is that? Like, what the hell is that? And for obvious reasons, but also imagine a level of darkness beyond that. And you, again, James, being legally blind, and having different levels of vision throughout your life, kind of getting worse, getting better, getting worse, getting better, and then, getting worse and worse and all the rest. Like, darkness has basically become a sanctuary for you. Am I right?
Yes. All light bothers my eyes. It's like a constant pressure on them. It's physical in a way. I can feel it. Like, there's just this pressure on my eyes from all light sources, unless it's a light that's behind me. I've noticed that. That's how I do dishes, by the way, is with a light on in the hallway behind the kitchen, so that there's still some light coming in, but it's not shining down or at me directly. But yeah, it's and I did a whole show on this years ago, but the idea of light and dark and how there's, not just the biases, but the positive and negative aspects of both of those things. You know, and I forget who said it earlier in their call, but how the way light can be blinding. You know, and light can be heat. Light can be a lot of things. Darkness can also be good. It can be comfort if you're trying to sort of stay hidden from something you don't that you think is dangerous. It can work in it's sort of paradoxical in that way because you think of the darkness, what could be there that's dangerous, but also the darkness. Oh, I can hide here from whatever may be out there that may be dangerous. You know, there's a lot of different parallels there between the two things. But I do think our initial reaction for a lot of people is, light good, dark bad.
Yeah, and shout out Jen. I know she's in the chat there. She invoked this a long time ago when we were talking about darkness. She kind of brought up the idea of the Ark of the Covenant. I think we were talking about that particular space of the Holy of Holies, the Temple of Solomon, when it went kind of rogue and they were putting it in a tent, is that when they invoked the power of God, ancient times, it didn't light things up. It sort of darkened. It became this space that was maybe, again, this negative photon, which is interesting because more than interesting, because now we're talking about sort of an entity that can kind of manipulate these things in esoteric ways that are as yet, thousands of years later, really barely definable. And then so it makes a little bit of a sense. Yeah, like a ghost, says Jen there. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thing. All of this is fascinating as hell, and that's the whole point of talking about it. But I do wonder, right? Like if you could manipulate the actual negative photon or the negative light itself, and how far does it scale? And the experience is amazing, James. What else you got regarding that? I got tons of stuff to get to. If not, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts as well. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. What you got, James? Go ahead.
A couple of things. I love that whole implication of time being stranger than we knew before. The idea of anti-time or time moving backwards. It just reminds me of just various accounts I've heard and read about. My favorite one, and I've mentioned this before because I think it just always comes back to mind, is this one account I found online where this family had this one weird spot that they always felt in their kitchen that just always felt weird. Always felt like you might fall in this one spot, even though it was a solid floor and everything. And the father, one day, his phone fell from his pocket, and everyone heard it land on the floor. But when they looked, it was gone. They could not find it at all. Never found it on that day. Years later, everyone in the house that was there heard the sound of something falling in that one spot in the kitchen on the floor. Guess what it was? It was that phone.
Stop it.
So I'm just reporting what I found online, and I've heard accounts of objects vanishing and reappearing. That's probably the most extreme one as far as like household objects. But the fact that I've heard and read other accounts of that, I've had objects vanish and come back in the same day in my own home when I live here alone. I can't totally discount it. That's so. It really is amazing. I wonder if all these things, this research into negative light, negative time, anti-time. If they really are, if we're just stepped on the very tip of the edge of maybe explaining how some of these other events that are thought of as anomalous or paranormal or unexplained or impossible, how that all could still work.
Yeah, which is the whole point. Again, sort of stripping down those reality tunnels, looking at the world or not just the world. The world is just a tiny piece of the cosmos. Looking at the cosmos in a different way. And I've always said this, and I'll continue to say this. Like whatever I believe about the universe doesn't give a crap. The universe is going to have whatever mysteries it has, and that's going to continue, regardless of the beliefs of Michael Strange. And that's why I talk about these things the way I do, as I always say, as agnostic as possible in all ways. And I think you can kind of see some other, dare I suggest, hidden truths in some spaces that are contentious. That you can kind of see if you can look into a superposition space of ideas. I think that's where we should be. I think maybe the quantum mind is eventually the space where we should kind of come together and fix this, because potentiality is where we actually are not friends, are, I don't know, likely to be part of this, likely to kind of come together in a potentiality space. Anyway, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Jacob, Archer boy, hop on in here. Let's hear on your new account what you got for us tonight. We're talking Darker Than Dark, the mystery of the negative light. What do you got for us? Welcome to the joint. Go right ahead.
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
Pretty good. No complaints out of me. Talking about amazing ideas with my friends, as I like to say. Go right ahead. What you got?
Just had a strange story wanted to share. That's cool.
Go ahead.
So maybe 2008, 2009, I had like a really amazing studio apartment in the Avenues area of Salt Lake City. It was like one of my favorite spots I've ever lived at. But yeah, one time, I just saw this. I was with my girlfriend at the time, and we were sleeping. I was just lying awake in my bedroom, my studio apartment, and saw this just kind of floating, almost like some apparition. It just in this darkness, but it's already dark in my dark room. All I see is this thing. It's almost darker than the darkness is floating above, like below my ceiling, kind of hovering over me, and then it drifted over into the other, like the hall where the door is that goes into the big room, my studio. And I didn't really feel threatened. It just drifted out there and just like went away. So that's something I saw. Would have been like mid-20s or so. But yeah, weird. I don't know whether that. How can you see something like that, or is it just your eyes having some sort of effect like that?
Yeah, it is a weird thing, and I think we've all kind of experienced some level of that. And like I said, imagine that sort of you're just seeing things, bro. Imagine if that the intuition level for thousands of years was actually like, no, bro, we actually saw stuff. And this is how you quantify it scientifically. I mean, maybe we're on the precipice. Who knows?
Yeah, I never telling her about it. I don't think she really knew. I mean, she was asleep, and I just explained the story. It wasn't something that I still love that apartment. I was like, and then I had to move out of there actually because I think she ended up becoming like my wife actually, and she was like, we had she's like, we were going to live together. She's like, I don't like your creepy apartment, so we had to move out of there. I loved it.
So sometimes the energy in the space is maybe we bring it, and I think that's an important thing too. We've talked about pop out topoids and sort of that zeitgeist noosphere aspect of the human ideal of whatever that means for an individual. But of course, it's mixing and it's just a big mess. But I mean, maybe you locked it in for exactly what you needed. Unfortunately,
yeah,
Mrs. didn't dig it.
Had some good moments, but oh well, you got to move on sometimes.
There you go.
That's it. Just wanted to share that.
Yeah, appreciate that very much. And so, regarding this, do you think that we'll discover? Do you think this is like the tip of a discovery that will turn physics on its head, or do you think this is just another clickbait nonsense BS? What's your take?
God, it's just everything is just so much just stuff out there that's just clickbait. It's so bad, like as if we are just being advertised to death enough. Like it's just some other spam of. It's like I don't know how it got to that point. Or just I don't know. I'm just over I'm kind of over the internet in a way. I'm sure other people feel this way. I'm just like, come on, like we just need to disattach. Just too much, and it went the wrong way in some ways that I think it was supposed to. Maybe it's just social media just killed a lot of that like excitement, and maybe just something about that just killed maybe what it was supposed to be. You know, like that meme that had like, you know, if MTV was still playing, you know, music, we'd be flying cars. You know, if you ever see that meme, you know, if we maybe skip the internet, maybe we just have flying cars and be better. I don't know. Weird to think about.
Yeah, agreed. It is it's fractalizing our brains and society, and interestingly, like a technology that makes it easier for us to communicate with each other. It's kind of been weaponized, and so we're, you know, instead of like recognizing, hey, you know, we're kind of the same in a lot of ways, and we should probably celebrate that. It's become the opposite. We're like, boo, hiss, boo. It just I don't know. Like I talk about it a lot, and you know, just recognize it. Clearly recognize it, because as I keep saying, we've peeled out a space where it doesn't have to be that way. You're the best, brothers. Thanks for popping in here. Thanks for finding us again after you lost the account, and always a pleasure, my man. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys.
Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you. That's you know him, you love him. That's Jacob. Jacob Harsher Boy on a new account on Discord. Go give him a follow. You know what to do. You know what to do. It's very easy. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, follow Jacob. Click that. Go check out his music. Again, talented musician. Been in the game for a long time, and of course plays a 7-string guitar. If you're into the 7-string bit, a little bit of the extra bass. Yeah. What's up, Steve in England? I see you there, buddy. How are you? Yeah, it's look, like I said, this is our friends list. It's an in club, not an out club. You belong on this list. So if you help us one iota, send me an email, troubledmindsradio@gmail.com, and we will add you to this list, okay? Simple as that. I'm not going to do it without you saying, yes, please do that, because some people kind of want to remain anonymous or whatever, like, or, you know, kind of quiet, and that's okay. But yeah, fire stuff. Appreciate that, Jacob. It's a wild time to be alive. That's for sure. And the dark of the dark means, of course, whatever you want it to mean. Don't forget that this is your world too, your reality tunnels and all the rest of that. And there you go. The Robert sent me. He's got some bars over there on Rumble that he wants me to put to music. All right, I'll take a look. I'll take a look over the weekend. Oh, I've got a long weekend. You guys have a long weekend. Happy Independence Day to the individuals that celebrate it. And don't forget, by the way, for all the politics and the bogged down nonsense and I'm going to say the words, the big, beautiful bill, all just all the terrible things that make a modern democracy of 350 million people a disaster. Also, don't forget that there are a lot of people out there that are dying to get here, that are literally dying, risking their lives to get here. So don't forget. As much as we want to be negative about things, as much as we want to talk about the warts in the system, yes, correct, 100%. But don't forget that there are good parts of this too. You decide what those are. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but let's be thankful in a moment for what we have, because if we don't, what are we actually doing? That's it. Cards don't count. Cards count. Shout out Jay in New York. Yeah. Anything to add, James? Happy Independence Day to you. I know this is not James's favorite holiday because he puts a blindfold on and then the fireworks start popping and hurting his ears. But happy Independence Day to you, James. Final thought, and let's wrap this up.
Same to you. Yeah, it was great to hear Jacob again. It's nice to hear him. I haven't heard him in a while. So I do think, it's funny, the same thing you were talking about there with the whatever place you're living in, America or whatever, wherever you're at. I think the same is true of the internet. I listen to audiobooks and podcasts almost all day, every day. And it's amazing. And I get them through the internet. So it can still be useful in a lot of ways. So yeah, and just I love this topic of this darkness. I was saying earlier, and like everyone has probably heard me say before, darkness is very useful for me. So I always kind of I get a little bit defensive when I hear anyone out there, not here but just out there, saying, "Oh, darkness, that means evil. Automatically means evil and bad," and I'm just like, "Oh, okay, all right," and I just move on because that's the way I am. But great topic, great calls from everyone, and thank you as always for having me on the show, Mike.
And thanks for sitting in and being part of this. And thanks for being you and powering through the eye problems and stuff. I mean, it can be easy. So thank you for that. I know that it's sometimes I can't, but you power through anyway. And you're not here in the most comfortable state. So thank you for that. Thank you for just recognizing there's something important happening here and making the effort to be here, regardless of what's happening around you. You're the best, brother. You know what to do. SalcedoParanormal.com. Of course, this is James. You know him, you love him. He's the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. By the way, shout out Jan too. I saw it pop in for the Discord for a second. Who's also the co-host of Salcedo Paranormal on the weekends. And by the way, if you haven't followed that podcast, if you haven't followed all the things, you're doing it wrong. SalcedoParanormal.com, SALSIDO space paranormal. And of course, troubledminds.org/friends. Follow James. Please do that. And follow Jen as well. And look, I don't know. Answers few, questions many, but recognize the whole point of this is to kind of break down those reality tunnels and think about this in different ways. That's the whole point. That's the whole damn point. Because if we're not doing this, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice and sort of racing toward war. To boil it down to one single word. To boil it down to putting us at each other's throats over lines on a map, over ideas that we could talk about and share together and grow together. But instead, in the old ways and the old days, and in the new days, sadly enough, we're still butchering people the world over these same things. So how about we do it different? Jen adds 1 Kings 8:13 or 8:12 is this. Hold on. I'm going to read this. He made darkness his covering, his canopy around him, thick clouds dark with water. Thank you. Just putting it out there. Darker than darkness. Yeah. Thank you for citing that. Shout out Fred. Happy birthday, my man. Ioxy, I see you guys in the chat. Thanks for being cool and chill. Yeah. There you go. The Robert adds, the big beautiful bill should be on Only Friends. Oh God. Don't get me started. You guys are the best. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for caring. If you want to help Troubled Minds, help our friends. I keep saying this. Look, I defer in all the ways. Like, you get it. You get it. But if you haven't spent a few minutes peeling out some time to actually go follow these folks, make an X account, make a Facebook account, whatever. Go follow these fine folks in all the ways. I appreciate it very much. If you want to help us directly, Troubled Minds directly, just spread the word. Let people know a conversation's happening, but we're not going to talk about politics. We're not going to tell you who to vote for. I know I took a sling at the big beautiful bill and the orange man, but I also took some slings at the other guy that was before him, and I don't do it very often, but it is on my mind. Anyway, yada yada, blah blah blah. You decide. If you want to help us directly, hey, the music we play, the greatest hits, troubledfans.com. Go to collections. What is it? I don't know. Yeah, troubledfans.com. The music is there. Actually, the link is in the description. It's the top link right there. Check it out. Go buy the music, the greatest hits of Troubled Minds, the Rogue Topas. A lot of great songs we played tonight that are on that album. You can buy a physical version in the lower 48 states, or you can buy of course, worldwide, the digital versions. And as part of it, if you want to help, it's a big help right now, and many of you have purchased this. Thank you for that. But I'm trying to get a new computer here without, breaking the bank for me. So if you can help a little bit on that, I appreciate it very much. So thank you for that. As I've been saying, Windows is deprecating in October or something. So what does that mean? I don't know. But I do know that my video is chugging up and being a little bit bad because it's an older computer. Anyway. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for caring about the ideas and the conversations. And thanks for recognizing that the world is more bizarre than you ever dreamed. As we finish, this one's for Lily in Australia. It goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.